That's it for
Yep.
5 years.
I know. It's
Damn.
amazing to me. Everybody hasn't done it.
Right.
And you can do it right at RSW here now too.
I noticed that. Yeah.
I even did the clear one time because I was running very tight on a flight in Houston. And so I did the clear.
How long do you get that for?
That's another long time. It's so funny though. Some airports, it takes you 13 seconds to go through in the clear. And in some airports, it's worse. Like Atlanta, it can be worse going clear than TSA because they only have like one line for it and the line backs up. Atlanta's got a tricky situation. They close TSA at 9 o'clock at night. So for those of us after the Saturday college football games, we can't get to Atlanta. You know, if we have a 10:30 flight, we're oftentimes getting there 9:15, 9:20, 9:30. Got to go through the regular line.
Bastards.
That's not ideal. There's a few people go through that airport, you know.
Hey, at least Calgary Vegas went to overtime.
True. I still would have rather seen the 7-2 route.
Yes, I actually watched Red Wings Rangers much as I could without nodding off and falling asleep because that's what I do now. I'm old. That couch hits me and just sucks me in, David.
Maybe the NHL needs to go to that Big E scheduling.
God, that would be great.
Yzerman's got to rip up all his plans. He was probably going to trade Dylan Larkin.
He's for sure trading Bertuzzi.
Is he really?
I think it's the last year of a deal. He wasn't coming back.
I know, but I
mean, he was for sure a month ago. I can't say what it is now.
Right. I mean, God, if you're Stevie, don't you want to sneak in as the 8?
I didn't have that, KW. That's a good little tidbit there.
Well, KW, like you really think Mark wouldn't have stumbled upon the curling? I mean, he is Mr.
I didn't have it.
He is Mr. Curling.
Not on my site.
Mark was just bummed that, you know, the second act had started 6 months earlier and he couldn't be on the team. Morning, Mongo. Wancho. We like, all right. I'm a scrambled and omelet guy. That's it.
Over easy, scrambled, or an omelet. Depends. Poached. Depends on that. Really depends on what I'm eating.
KW, apparently my wife had a huge crush on the dark-haired guy. Was that Starsky?
Philly, we about ready?
You got 20 seconds.
Okay, I got one clock saying 6:02. I got another one saying 6.
That says 6:02.
Yeah.
Well, that's wrong.
It always is.
Yeah. That's why I always used to ask you, what time is it?
Yeah. All right, here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How's your week gone? It's the final Friday of February, where we ask the question, how the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Is it still a football Friday?
Boy, I want it to be, David. I really do. And I have made a habit. I've explained it on the air a couple times. I get up, I do my thing, but around 5 a.m., I'm usually ready for the day, and I'll throw on Sports Center just to make sure I didn't miss anything, see a highlight that I obviously have a game that I didn't see, and usually they run a little NBA, and I'm watching NHL at night, so get caught up on what happened. And I don't know, they run through their couple of stories, and they're already promoting A.J. McCarron in the XFL, and I went, you've got to be kidding me. That's when it was like a balloon that burst for me, and I'm just like, no, I can't do it. I can lie through a promo and go Football Friday, but I can't do it, David.
Here's my question. Did they manage to sneak in Mrs. McCarron in the promo for, he's what, St. Louis, the Battlehawks?
If you say so.
Okay. Listen, all I know is in St. Louis, the XFL outrated the Daytona 500. It didn't anywhere else, but in St. Louis, it did. They love their spring football in St. Louis. Hate the NFL. Love when they have a spring football team, though.
Doesn't that tell you everything you need to know about St. Louis right there?
Just listen, outside of St. Louis, NASCAR crushed it. I mean, outside of St. Louis, that state's as red as you can get. All right. But in St. Louis, the Battlehawks, I think that's who it is, they beat Daytona. Although Daytona had a good weekend. All right. The ratings were good. Ratings were up. Had a bigger margin than ever before of more people watching Daytona than watching the NBA All-Star game. So a good start to the NASCAR season. Listen, since you went there, 1.12 million people watched on average the 4 XFL games.
Yep.
Now, I think one was on a network. The other 3 were on cable. I think you had 1 on ABC, 2 on the 4-letter network, and then you had the Sunday night one that was on FX. So you add it all up, and they did 1.12 million for their 4 games, which was down, for what it's worth, 3 years ago when the XFL, it was XFL 2.0, and they played about 4 weeks before the pandemic shut everything down. It did better 3 years ago than it did last weekend.
It did better the first time than it did last weekend. The USFL did better than the XFL did a year ago. But to your point, David, it was still 1 million plus people watching those games.
Right.
That's a decent audience for crappy football.
Now, the concern for the XFL is usually numbers go down precipitously after week 1. That week 1's kind of like, hey, let me check it out. And then 20, 30, 40% of people go, I'm good. And they don't come back. So now 3 of the 4 games were close, decided by 2, 3, and 4 points, and Orlando got blown out. But if you were assisting The Rock, because he owns the XFL, if you didn't know that, if you were assisting The Rock, would you feel good about week 1, or would you be nervous?
I'd be scared to death. Those numbers were down 50% from XFL 2.0. And to your point, they're going to go down again. So they're going to be in the 600,000 range.
Well,
700,000 range.
I think it might be a little better than that. I think it might be in the 800,000 to 900,000 range. I mean, you think about it.
Because they lose the network too, don't they? This is all cable and FX now.
So they don't get 1 game on ABC this weekend?
I didn't think so.
Okay, that would hurt. But yeah, you could see it down. If you take 30% away, then you'd be talking about 800,000 thereabouts as your average audience. Let me throw this out there, though, Mark. You and I are both hockey folks. All right. We got a lot of hockey fans who listen. When ESPN or TNT is broadcasting a hockey game, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, something like that, I mean, those games are doing 600,000. I mean, that's all those games are doing. Now you put an NHL game on a network on a Saturday or Sunday, And then, yeah, you get over 1 million people, but you very rarely get 2 million. I mean, you usually get the low ones, and if by chance you're throwing a good Boston or a Rangers or a Penguins, then you're getting high 1 millions, close to 2 million. So if you're running the XFL, believe it or not, you're getting NHL television numbers for week one.
There's no doubt. Now they played, for the record, the XFL played last night. St. Louis did it again. Another close, hard-fought battle. They won, beating Seattle by 2. It was on FX, in case you didn't know. I'm guessing you didn't.
And I didn't know that.
Yeah, you didn't even know they played.
No, I'm now writing it into the starting 5. I'm like, hey, thanks for giving me that. That's fantastic.
So they're undefeated, St. Louis, and they played last night on FX, and I guarantee you that there weren't 600,000 people watching that last night.
Well, there's a very good chance, considering neither you nor I knew that game was being played, and we do sports for a living. So that's not good.
And they've got the 4-letter network covering this league like it's a real league.
Right. Yeah, they're in. They're all in. See, Fox and NBC are in with the other one. Listen, could the XFL do so badly it kills the USFL also? That could be our question of the day. But so St. Louis beat Seattle, huh? The Cardinals over the Seahawks, or no?
No. The Battlehawks over the Sea Dragons, 20-18.
Wait, the Cardinals over the Mariners? No.
Battlehawks, Sea Dragons.
Sea Dragons. So you got the hockey team, who's the Kraken, with their logo, and then the football team, the XFL team, is the Sea Dragons.
Right.
Which one would you rather be, Kraken or Sea Dragons? Aren't they implying the one of the same? I mean, don't you think the Sea Dragon is the cousin of the Kraken?
They're definitely friends.
I think they're related.
Probably on the Kraken's mother's side, I would guess, but yes.
Can you wear your Kraken stuff to a Sea Dragons game?
Absolutely. You can wear whatever you want to a Sea Dragons game. You just want to, they just want you there, David. And that's the only other thing I will say. The NHL, when they try to make these comparisons, on a national level, it'll do just fine. But they're putting 4,000 people in the stadium, 8,000, 10,000 people. There's no one at these games. It doesn't take into account regional television numbers. This is what they get. It's their number. And they're not, I don't know how they develop a fan base without just giving tickets away.
Except in St. Louis, where apparently it's a hot ticket. St. Louis, San Antonio, man. It's spring football. They're all in. NFL's left St. Louis twice, and the NFL will never go to San Antonio, at least not while Jerry Jones is alive.
When is the XFL playoffs?
At the end of the XFL regular season.
Okay, well, when is that?
I don't know.
Because I'm trying to think of what lines up with that.
I believe
they're playing 10 games, right?
Right. So
the semifinals are Saturday, April 28th, and Sunday, April 30th.
Yes, I was going to say it's NFL draft weekend, I believe.
NFL draft, first round of the NBA playoffs. I think that.
And they're getting 2 weeks. The key is they're taking 2 weeks off for their championship game, which is Saturday, May 13th.
Okay. That's a pretty good window.
Whatever.
I don't know.
The U.S.
Have you watched a game yet?
I watched a little bit of a game. And I did see that St. Louis was on last night.
Wow.
Because I was watching basketball. And I was flipping through channels.
So you saw it on the ticker, but you didn't say, oh, I've got to go watch some XFL now.
Well, obviously not. The NBA was back last night. Also, I looked at the Kraken game as well. Man, I love those blue uniforms.
The Kraken got it going on.
Oh, except for the last 5 minutes of the game last night.
Well, listen, we're talking about, the stuff that's really important, Mark. The uniforms, okay, merchandising.
Absolutely.
They're a second-year franchise. I mean, come on. I mean, what Vegas did, that's the aberration. Seattle's doing really well. Looks like they're going to make the playoffs in their second year of existence. That's outstanding. And they're going to look great. They're going to go out in the first round. That's okay. They're going to look great. And besides, that just means that John Forsland and Eddie Olczyk, who are calling their games, they'll be available earlier in the playoffs to do the national games. Thank goodness. Not who we have to listen to now. So there you go. Little, just putting everything in perspective for those that have been weak. Because for whatever reason, Mark, the Twitch chat room has a heavy concentration of XFL interest.
And I don't think that that's the norm.
No. But we have been inundated with the XFL for 3 weeks. Yes, that's right. Literally, from the moment the Super Bowl ended, okay? It's been like, okay, when are we moving to the XFL? You going to have a guest on? You going to do a preview? You guys psyched for the XFL? You know, it's a football Friday. Okay. All right. Did you like that bringing a voice to the Twitch chat room? Was that Twitch chat room voice okay?
You give them a lot of love. You know, there is a way, believe it or not. Like, there are times when they're going off on their tangents. I shut the chat off. I don't even pay any attention to what they're saying. I just do the radio show.
So there you have it. A little perspective. Be curious if any of you tune in at any point in time this weekend, particularly if you did last weekend. Because, I watched 10 minutes of the one game. I saw 3 plays, and I got 2 replay reviews. And I was more excited about the replay reviews.
It's not a good sign for a league.
Probably not. Well, I have to admit, though, I tuned into the game with Paxton Lynch at quarterback. I mean, has there ever been, since he played in college, an aesthetically pleasing game that Paxton Lynch was involved in?
No. There really hasn't.
I mean,
certainly not one in the professional ranks that I would remember.
He now has the distinction. Did you see? He's now been benched in every professional football league that's ever been created, basically, except for the World League. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
You guys are talking about dragon teams. You guys ever heard of the Swamp Dragons?
No.
So apparently in 2013, when the Brooklyn Nets moved to Brooklyn, they were going to change their name from the Nets to the Swamp Dragons.
Well, that'd really work in Brooklyn.
Right. Ultimately, they went with the Nets. They had a mascot and everything, and a logo.
This place is about as soundproof as a fucking.
Was the door open? Is that it?
For K-Rock, yeah. And it just this place is about as soundproof. I mean, thank goodness they don't do confessions here. I mean, it's just I mean, I can hear it through my headsets. It's like, wow, it's loud.
Well, Mark, you're part of the modern addition, to the building.
The Miami Heat is the worst team in the NBA against the spread this year.
Imagine a woke Daisy Duke. That would be interesting. So apparently Fox is doing the Starsky and Hutch remake. And my wife had the crush on Starsky, dark-haired one. Paul Michael Glazer, not David Soul, who apparently wants to be part of the reboot. Yeah, Jay Gunn, it's not beneficial to those tournaments to ban the good players on the LIV who have qualified for them. It's just not in their best interest. Well, the PGA never banned them the first time. Now, Phil chose not to play last year, but a racer, you can't have it both ways. I mean, Tesla's owned by Elon Musk, who's about as non-woke as you can go. So, and you can't have it both ways. Johnny, I think, like what
10
was it,
seconds.
Dubai, when it was Patrick Reed against Roy down the stretch? Yes.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour on this final Friday in February. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We'll head to Gainesville next hour. Kevin Brockway talk a little Gators football and basketball. Football team keeps losing assistant coaches. Basketball team has lost too many players and too many games. Both programs are pretty mediocre right now. We'll just talk to Kevin Brockway, who's covered them both on a couple of different occasions. What in the wide world of sports is going on, and is everybody okay, or are things getting restless? And then we'll talk a little lightning, a little hockey. Trade deadline marks a week from today, baby.
Oh, there's action going on, too. Teams are making moves. They're already starting.
Love it. Love it. Islanders, Rangers, Bruins all made big trades. Let's do this.
Leafs made some moves.
Leafs made a monster trade, and we still got a week to go. That's what I'm talking about.
This is your perfect trade deadline from a timing standpoint, right? I mean, this is late enough in the season. Nobody has a trade deadline quite this late.
No, and isn't by now, you know if you're a pretender or a contender. You do. You're damn near a month past your all-star break. We've said it for a long time. The NFL has kept pushing it back. And in the last 2 or 3 years, there's actually been a few moves. But we always thought make the trade deadline either right before or right after Thanksgiving. I mean, that's pretty much the line of demarcation. You get about 2/3 of the way through the season. Yes, you've got the Jags who at 4-8 run the table. We had examples, going all the way back to their second year. They were 3-7 and they ran the table. Yeah, it happens. Lions were 1-6. But for the most part, you know if you're cooked or not.
But even more so, look at the Lions and Jags. If the trade deadline would have been pushed back a month or so, David, they would have found themselves where they may have been sellers at the original deadline, and they may say, holy cow, we're buyers now. So I think it would even affect those teams as well. And I know Detroit didn't make the playoffs, but you get the point that I'm making, that they would have had an opportunity to make a move to help themselves, perhaps.
Yeah, both the Steelers and Lions rallied to finish 9-8, even though they both missed the playoffs. But yeah, we wish the trade deadline in the NFL was at least 3 weeks, if not longer, pushed back. I mean, Mark, I think now, what are we playing now? Are we playing into the first weekend of January now for sure? Every year. The NFL regular season is going to go till January 1st, 2nd, 3rd now every season, correct? In fact, I think it goes to the second Sunday in January. Like this past year, I'm pretty sure that the final Sunday of the regular season was the 8th. And I think next year it's technically the 7th. So, which I know is only the first Sunday, but you know what I mean. I mean, we're a week plus into January when the regular season is now ending. I mean, couldn't you make the argument, Mark, that Tuesday after Thanksgiving should be the NFL trade deadline? You still got 5, maybe 6 games left.
I'm right there with you. I love it.
So you're 12 games in. Maybe if you haven't had your bye week, at minimum, the fewest number of games, if they made it the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, the minimum number of games that a team will have played is 11. Most every team will have played 12. I mean, now the Jags would have been 4-8. The irony of ironies, maybe they would have sold off a couple of parts and hurt their chances to make a run. I'm trying to think. I think the Lions were 5-7 at that point of the season. The Steelers, I think, were similarly 4-8, 5-7, something like that. So maybe some teams actually, if it had been pushed back, they might have made the wrong decision. But then again, also, the Jets had started to suffer a couple of injuries. They were 7-4, which was going to turn us into 7-9 or 7-10. Okay, and maybe the Jets would have said, we got to go out and get some parts. We're starting to break down. I don't know. But I'm with you. I think this is we got like 5 weeks left in the NHL regular season after the deadline. I think that's awesome. 3/4 of the season will have been played by the trade deadline. That's fantastic.
And teams like the Panthers are back in it. They may have to make a move to try to help themselves out to get in the playoffs, where I don't know if they would have 3 weeks ago.
But also, I love it in baseball. Most general managers won't do it, but every now and then you see a team in late June make a big move a month ahead of the deadline. They're like, we need this guy. I don't know why teams in baseball, Mark, don't acquire pitching sooner. I mean, come on now. The difference between getting them for 12 starts or 17 to me is significant. You know, the difference between 60 games and 80 games, but the difference between 12 starts and 17 starts to me seems like a big deal. So I love the fact that you've got contenders too. I mean, the Bruins, best team in the league.
Went and made a move.
Maple Leafs, top 5 team in the league.
Right.
All right. Islanders, they were out. They were cooked. They were not going to make the playoffs. They needed help. Their veteran general manager made the first deal. He said, I'm going to go get this guy, okay, because I want to make the playoffs. Because I think if we get in, we'd be a tough out. And then you got the Rangers, who have won 1 Stanley Cup in 80-plus years. So, you know, they're always in. And it begs the question, the next week, what are the Lightning going to do?
Because I don't think standing pat's good enough.
I don't think so either. I mean, right now, the road in the East is Everest in the NHL. I mean, honestly, I mean, this is the NBA's Eastern Conference in the early to mid 80s. You know, this is, hell, it could be going forward the AFC, to be brutally honest with you. I mean, the Eastern Conference in the NHL is brutal right now. I mean, you could argue 2 of the 5 best teams in the league are Toronto and Tampa Bay. They're going to play each other in the first round. First damn round. Winner gets to play the best team in the league in the second.
And then you're going to have Carolina or New York or New Jersey waiting for you on the other side.
I mean, you're going to have to beat 3 of the top 5 teams in the league just to get to the finals out of the East, in all likelihood. I mean, it's brutal.
And there's one big name out there that's being rumored to be traded. It's Patrick Kane, who's been with the Blackhawks forever, and his name's starting to circulate. He's got a no-trade clause, so he can determine where it is he wants to go. And it would be a difference maker for wherever he goes.
He's a sniper. It's a hell of a second-line right wing right there, baby. But a 33-year-old Hall of Famer who had a hat trick last week just to wet everybody's whistle. It's like, oh, he's still got it.
And can Chicago get enough to move him, and where will he go, and fitting him under the cap and all the other things that go along with this?
Have you seen some of the deals made in the NHL? I do love leagues that do this, by the way, in which they allow certain teams to pick up a certain percentage of contracts. Like the deal that was made yesterday between Boston, Washington, and Minnesota. Minnesota picked up 25% of 2 guys' contracts just to help the deals happen. And they were compensated with draft picks by picking up the salaries. Here you go. And so that's going to be the deal with Kane. Kane's salary is like $10 million. And the thought is one team's going to pick up half. The Blackhawks are going to have to hold on to a quarter, and a third team's going to have to come in and pick up a quarter. And they'll get like a 3rd-round pick for doing it.
It's certainly creative financing, and the NHL is terrific at it because, well, the cap goes out the window in the playoffs.
And also the NHL, it's a smart move by them allowing this because they have the hardest cap. There's no flexibility. It is a hard cap to the penny. Week from today, baby, trade deadline.
On the other side, the starting 5. That's how we roll. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlifetransportation.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlifetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
You know, I'm really excited for baseball.
Wow.
I am.
Is this a baseball thing or is this a Marlins thing?
I think it's both.
Well, the Marlins are going to suck.
I mean,
They're at best the fourth best team in the division. At best.
Yes, they're in a very hard division. Probably the best division. Every team is good except the Marlins.
No, the Nats.
Oh, the Nats are terrible. You're right. The Nats are terrible.
Yeah, they're in a downswing. The AL East is now probably better.
Yeah, true. But that three-headed monster of the Braves, the Mets, and the Phillies, that's a lot to worry about. However,
well, we talked about this. Like right now, the three in the East, the Dodgers, Padres, and whoever wins the Central. You going to bet on anybody else to make the playoffs but those 6 teams? I mean, seriously. Second place team in the Central, the Giants. I mean, who's going to upset that apple cart?
I just think the Marlins have not a lot, but things to be excited about this year.
I still don't think they have enough offense, but maybe, just maybe, they can use their speed.
Right. They're young. Ish. But go Marlins, man.
Mm-hmm.
Come on now. Please, just host one playoff game in that new stadium.
Actually, no, they didn't do it because when they made the playoffs during the pandemic year.
Yep.
Oh, no, they played a game there.
No.
Didn't they?
No.
Because when they beat the Cubs Those two games were in Chicago, but then they played the Braves, I thought.
It wasn't in Miami.
Hold on. Those games, they got swept in a 5-game series. They lost the first two. Where was that third game played?
It might have been at a neutral site, but I am positive that it was not at Marlins Park. So remember, there were neutral sites that year, neutral site playoff games. The Yankees and the Rays were playing a series in San Diego.
Who asked the question about most homers batting second? All right. I thought Joe Morgan was a great guest, by the way. I don't know if Kent batted third and Bonds fourth, or if Kent batted second and Bonds third. But I'll guess Kent. I got to look up that Marlins.
I'm on it right now.
It was played at Minute Maid Park
in Houston. So again, host a playoff game, please.
Wow. Don't know, KW. By the way, when are we coming back?
Right now.
We're late.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Kevin Brockway to join us next hour. We'll talk a little hockey in our 8 o'clock hour with Henry Yoho. Right now it is time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Well, teams are doing some bookkeeping, Mark. 2 days ago was the Tennessee Titans, cutting 4 or 5 guys, freeing up about $38 million in salary cap space. The Rams and Bobby Wagner had a little chat. Bobby's 32. He wants to win. He doesn't have faith that the Rams can win anymore. The Rams, meanwhile, are $13.7 million over the cap. So the two sides talked it out, and they agreed that Wagner would be released. The Rams will save either $5 or $8 million against the cap, depending on whether they designate the release effective immediately. Then they save $5 million. If they make it a post-June 1st release, they'll save $8 million against the cap this year. Bobby Wagner, according to Pro Football Focus, graded out as the best linebacker in the league last year. And I will say his stats were amazing. 140 tackles, the plays behind the line of scrimmage, turnovers. I mean, second team All-Pro. Mark, if you're the Miami Dolphins, I know you don't have the money, but figure it out. Because this would be a tremendous acquisition. This is the type of move that the Eagles make right here. And right now, the Eagles don't have the money, but Howie Roseman's got 2 weeks to find it. All right. Wagner wants to win another ring. He's going to go somewhere where he thinks he can win. Bobby Wagner's got 1 or 2 more outstanding years left in him. Inside linebacker. Can still go sideline to sideline. Aaron Rodgers emerged from the darkness, Mark. And a lot of people have said that means we have 6 more weeks of winter. But in all seriousness, Green Bay hoping for an answer from Rodgers before the new year starts on March 15th. The Jets have already publicly and privately said, hey, we'll trade for him. So we'll see. I mean, can we just end this already, please?
Please.
Please. Man, the Broncos are hiring a lot of coaches. Who's hiring more coaches, Broncos or the Dolphins?
Dolphins close, but I see where you're getting at.
Big day yesterday in Denver. This could be awkward, but former Broncos head coach Vance Joseph won the defensive coordinator sweepstakes. He's going back to Denver. This time, he doesn't get the big office. He just gets a little one as defensive coordinator. He got the job over, Rex Ryan and what's his face in New England there and a couple of others. Davis Webb is 28 years old. He played in 1 NFL game. It was the final game of this past regular season. And he'd kind of let it be known that he wanted to go into coaching. Well, Sean Payton hired him to be his quarterback's coach. So 28-year-old Davis Webb is going to be the quarterback coach of 34-year-old Russell Wilson. The Gators lost another assistant. Their wide receivers coach, Kerry Colbert, he's going to Denver. That's 3 assistant coaches in like 24, 36 hours. Now,
to your point yesterday, they're all going to the NFL.
Right.
So you have to give the coach credit for hiring quality people, but they're losing 3 coaches.
Right. So, good news. I guess Billy Napier put a really nice staff together. But my question is, what the heck's going on? Is it more money? Is this Walmart money talking over Gator collective money, if you know what I mean? I mean, seriously, that's what I would want to know. It's partly why we're having Kevin Brockway on in less than an hour to ask what the heck's going on and why does the water taste the way it does in Gainesville. XFL last night. Can't believe
in case you didn't know it, because we didn't either.
Battlehawks and the Sea Dragons. Is that what they are? The Sea Dragons?
They're the Sea Dragons.
Didn't Southwest Florida have a minor league basketball team that was the Sea Dragons?
They did.
20 years ago?
I believe that was the first minor league basketball team that played here.
Anyway, the St. Louis Battlehawks, led by A.J. McCarron. And if not him, then his beautiful wife. 20-18 over the Seattle Sea Dragons.
Thank you, Brent Musburger.
Yeah, I thought I'd throw it in. Listen, most people don't even know who A.J. McCarron is anymore. So I had to give him a point of reference. NBA returned last night after the All-Star break with 9 games, and a lot of them were good. So, Mark, I don't know if they can do this all the time, but apparently if the guys get a week off, they come back, they play really hard. I mean,
they're looking for the NFL schedule, apparently.
Yes, that's what the NBA is going to go to. About an 18-game regular season. Got to be honest. Bet you the ratings would be phenomenal. Orlando held off Detroit at home, 108-106. Boston had to rally to win in Indianapolis against the Pacers, 142-138 in overtime. So the Sixers were down like 12 at the break, trailed by like 20 mid-second quarter. But they got this Harden and this Embiid guy. And, when they both bring their A game, they're pretty good. They combined for 58 points, like 30-something rebounds and 20-something assists. You add it up, the Sixers beat Ja Morant and the Grizzlies 110-105.
Chippy.
Denver, yeah.
No, it was Chippy.
Yes, it was. It was feisty.
Felt like a playoff game.
Yeah. How about that? Like I said, give them a week off, or in Embiid's case, 3 days off. So this Nikola, Jokic guy, he started the post All-Star break, little 24 points, 18 rebounds, 13 assists to have Denver beat Cleveland 115-109. Cleveland's a very good team, but they can't beat the really good teams. Lately, they've had chances against the Bostons, the Milwaukees, the Phillies, and the Denvers. They can't beat them. They can beat everybody else. They can't beat the big boys. And the Lakers had 8 players in double figures. LeBron only scored 13 points, and the Lakers won by 13, 124-111. That's actually a really good sign. They played 13 guys last night. And if you look at their roster, Mark, it's actually really deep. It's like, wow, how the hell are these? They made a bunch of moves at the trade deadline. You look at their roster, you're like, man, how the hell are they 4 games below 500?
Lonnie Walker. Lonnie Walker was a starter. He's a bench warmer now.
Right. The guy they got from the T-Wolves played like 9 minutes last night. Got hurt. Anyway, Kevin Durant, speaking of hurt, he scrimmaged with the Suns yesterday. 2 hours, no holds barred. Most physical practice they had since training camp. They said he made it through okay. Likely not playing tonight. They don't even think he's going to play Sunday at Milwaukee. Possible he plays Sunday, nationally televised, rematch of the finals from 2 years ago. Okay, but, Mark, they're circling Wednesday in Charlotte. Michael Jordan's got to be happy. Maybe it'll help sell a few tickets. College hoops. Northwestern was up 18 at the half at Illinois and lost. Wow, but they covered.
But the big news is they covered. That's really all Miller and Moulton care about. They were getting 6.5. They covered the game, and that's what matters because we were betting Northwestern last night.
66-62, the Illini with a terrific win. UCLA, Gonzaga, St. Mary's all ranked, all won. All right, some key games. FAU, we feel they have to win out in the regular season to make sure they get an at-large. They beat Texas San Antonio by 40 last night, Mark. FIU lost to UTEP. Have you been paying attention to this Antoine Davis story? He's Mike Davis's son. Remember the Indiana coach who took him to the finals? Right. He's playing at Detroit Mercy for his dad. You throw in the COVID year, he's playing 5 years. He's within 100 points of Pete Maravich's all-time NCAA scoring record.
Wow.
He scored 27 last night in a loss. He's 97 points behind Maravich. They got 1 regular season game left, and they're guaranteed a first-round tournament game. He's averaging 31 points a year. He's got at least 2 games left, but if they win in the first round of the Horizon, he'll get a 3rd game. At 31 points a game, that would get him to within like a 3 of Maravich's all-time NCAA scoring record. Now, granted, Pete did it in 3 years, and he didn't have the benefit of the three-point shot. But still, Antoine Davis is the 2nd leading scorer in NCAA men's basketball history. He's within 100 points of Maravich. Penn State, a bubble team, won at Ohio State last night. Michigan, a bubble team. Nice win, ugly, but they won by 13 at Rutgers, who's lost 4 of 5 after they lost their best player. USC, a bubble team, won at Colorado by 19. Women's college hoops, Florida State won on the road. South Carolina's 28-0. They beat Tennessee and Knoxville by 13. North Florida won by forfeit. FGCU won. And Florida won. Miami, Jacksonville, Stetson, FAU, FIU, losers in women's basketball last night. Hockey, Lightning rallied from 4-2 and 5-3 deficits, forced overtime, lost on a shorty, 6-5 to Buffalo.
First time the Sabres have ever done that, scored a shorthanded overtime goal.
Detroit 4-1 over the Rangers. Look out for the Wings. They're right there for the final playoffs.
Red hot.
What's that, 6 in a row?
No, they lost one in there. They think that's 7 of 8 now.
Okay. Jersey rallied, beat LA in overtime 4-3 to cement 2nd place in the division. Boston beat the Kraken 6-5, and then they made a monster trade. They got 3 guys, including Dmitry Orlov and Hathaway. Hathaway will be a bottom 6 forward. Orlov will go right onto their 1st or 2nd line left D. All right. They gave up 4 draft picks, including a 1st rounder, and Craig Smith, a grinder. Edmonton got 2 goals, 2 assists from McDavid in a 7-2 win over the Penguins. Penguins and Caps are free-falling both. They're both looking old and weathered. Ovechkin returned for Washington, but they lost to Anaheim 4-2. Minnesota shut out Columbus 2-0. Calgary only got a point, and so they're a point behind Colorado for the final playoff spot in the West, and the Avs have 4 games in hand. The Honda, Billy Horschel, Joseph Bramlett tied for the lead. LIV gets underway today. Mayakoba in Mexico. The LPGA's in Thailand. Nat Vongtavilap has a 1-shot lead at 12 under. Nelly Cordes 2 back. Lydia Ko, Daniel Kang are 4 back. And that, gentleman, was...
That was the starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
I thought that Antoine Davis story would interest you.
It does. It makes what Maravich did even all that more remarkable.
Why? He scored 3,700 points in 3 years with no 3-point shot?
Yeah, that would pretty much do it.
Averaged about 40 a game.
With no 3-point line.
Right.
I mean, that is just astonishing to think of the score and what he would have scored, because there was a lot of balls that he scored that were beyond the arc.
But the COVID year, I mean, Davis has been able to play 5 full seasons. Also, Maravich only played the 3 years. Remember when Pete was in college, freshmen couldn't play.
Pistol Pete stories sound like ancient mythology stories.
If you watch the video of his highlights, literally no one played like him. Jason Williams was the closest point guard I ever saw that played like Maravich, okay, with the ball in his hands. Even Magic looks at Pete Maravich and goes, damn, that guy was something with the ball.
The videos of him ball handling with Red Auerbach, if you've ever seen the drills that he does, they're just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I could watch that over and over. It's 50 plus years old, and you look at it and go, how? Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for listening. Great show lined up. Kevin Brockway coming up next hour to talk some Gators right here on Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Or guac, Paul. About ready to National Tortilla Chip Day today. I think you've put our question up for us. There it is. It's a hell of a poll question. It's the best thing to have with your chips. Salsa, queso, or guacamole.
Wow.
Hard hitting, David. Hard hitting.
Yeah, but this could be our best poll question ever.
This is one of the toughest questions I've ever had to answer. Love all three. Love.
I don't like guac, so
I'm a guac guy personally.
I love guac. I laugh because people, you make great guacamole. It's flipping avocados. How tough is it? You smash some avocados, you throw some cilantro in there, a little lime juice, you call it a day. How hard can it be? I don't get it.
Here we go.
you're right, Chimko.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Friday, the final one of February. Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Kevin Brockway covers the Gators. We'll bring him on in a little less than 40 minutes and talk about the state of the football program and the state of the men's basketball program. We know the state of the gymnastics and baseball programs, but, we're trying to find out when the two programs that most fans care about, when they're going to actually start winning again. So Kevin Brockway to join us in 35-plus minutes about that. Maybe the best poll question we've ever come up with. Just going to throw that out there and see whether or not you, Mark, and others agree.
Well, it is National Tortilla Chip Day today. So we asked the question, what are you dipping your chips in? Salsa, queso, or guacamole?
I
One
think
of
it's
the
the best
questions I've
question.
ever had to answer.
It's the best damn one we've ever had. I mean, really. It's like the NFC in the mid-'90s. Cowboys, Niners, or Packers. Honestly, this is tough. Boston, Toronto, or Tampa Bay getting out of the division this year in the NHL. Honestly, this is tough.
It is tough. Just quickly on Boston's, I hate to talk sports when we're in the middle of a solid tortilla chip discussion here. But the pressure on the Bruins, they could set the record for points and wins and all of these great accolades from the regular season. But anybody who follows hockey knows it means nothing without a Stanley Cup, without a deep run into the playoffs. And they're in such a tough division. And the East is so stacked, there's no guarantees that they get out. And I just think the amount of pressure that the Bruins are going to play within this postseason benefits whoever gets out of the Lightning Leaf series.
I applaud what they did yesterday because they took a look at their roster and said our best players are all old. So we might as well go all in. I mean, because when we have to retool this sucker, and it could be as soon as next year, but it certainly looks as if we're going to have to retool this sucker by 25. I mean, they got this year and maybe next. That's probably their Stanley Cup championship winning window. There's teams, the Lightning's window is more open than Boston's. And so they went all in yesterday. And they give up 4 draft picks. I mean, so when it's time to retool, they will have not had a first, a second, a third, and a fourth round pick in the 2 drafts leading up to their retool. And that will eventually hurt them. But they're like, you know what? We've been to 3 finals in the last 12 years. We've only won it once. We got to win one more. Before we tear this sucker down, we got to win one more cup.
Yeah, I was not, I mean, I wasn't like stunned or anything, but when I looked, I'm like, I'll be damned. The Bruins made a move yesterday. That's a team that's not complacent with all the things that are going on. They still find holes. They still see opportunities to make their team better. That's a great general manager.
And for as good, Mark, if not very good, that Boston has been over the last 50 years, they've skated with Lord Stanley once since 72. And do you know how good the Boston Bruins have been over the last 50 years? They've been outstanding. They're good every year. They won it in 2011. They lost it in 6 in 2013, and they lost it in 7 to St. Louis in 2019. So they've been to the finals 3 times last decade, and they're looking at their star players who are all in their mid-30s, and they're like, well, might as well go all in. Yeah, absolutely. Now, Mark, where did the biggest chip in the bowl, where did they dip it? Did they dip it in queso, salsa, or guac?
Ooh, yesterday's move, I think, is definitely, it's more than salsa. Because salsa, I mean, if you think about it, while we all love it, it's what they bring to the table at most restaurants. The salsa's free.
Okay.
So yesterday was definitely some queso or some guac they added to that team.
Now, I'm a queso guy, which, one could guess. I mean, first off, guac, for it's green. Okay, so that right there, I think it's a vegetable. So I'm obviously not interested.
Is that is a color thing just bad? Is like if the fact that it's green, Did it already, before you ever tasted it, have a bad vibe to it?
Totally. I'm like, well, this is probably healthy and it probably doesn't taste good. Why would I be interested in this? I mean, I eat peas, I eat lima beans, but I hate asparagus. I had broccoli. There's only one kind of lettuce I like. That's iceberg. I mean, no.
Right, the kind with no nutritional value whatsoever.
Exactly. So I'm sure it's a color thing. I looked at guac and I go, I have no interest in this whatsoever. And I don't like it, as it turns out. Tried it once and went, no, I'm good. Give me the stuff that clogs the artery. That's I would prefer this right here.
So queso, guac, or salsa? What are you
Right.
dipping your tortilla chips in?
Might be the best question we've ever asked. Honestly, I hope you left that up through the weekend too. I hope that's not a 24-hour thing.
Probably
hope
just
that-
24 hours. I didn't.
Man, I'll be thinking about this all weekend. Honestly, it's a great question. Have you heard about this? Felipe, by the way, behind the scenes, little behind the curtain. Felipe just makes a pronouncement a couple commercial breaks ago. Out of nowhere, it's quiet. And he bellows, I am excited about baseball.
Yeah.
Mark and I nearly fell out of our chairs. So we drilled down a little bit and found out what he was excited about. Have you heard about this Noah Song story? He's 25. He's in the Navy, stationed in Jacksonville, as it turns out. He had requested a few years ago, he was a 4th-round pick of the Red Sox in the mid-90s. And he had requested to be put on, a certain, restricted status, which would have allowed him to try to play professional baseball. And the Navy said, no, you're going to stay in the Navy. Okay. Well, 3 years later, the Navy said, well, okay. I mean, if you want, I guess you can go play baseball. Well, by then he's 25, Mark. He hasn't played in 3+ years. And so the Red Sox relinquished his rights. They said, nah. Besides, nobody's going to claim him in the Rule 5 draft. It costs $100,000. And to keep him, you have to keep him on your major league roster for the entire season. Nobody's going to do that. The guy hasn't pitched this decade, for goodness sakes. We don't even know if he's any good anymore. Yeah, the Phillies paid the $100,000 and picked him up. So here this 25-year-old, what is he? He's Lieutenant Junior Grade Noah Song is in Phillies camp. And, Phillies got a really good veteran team. They lost in the World Series. And who's the star of the camp right now? This kid who hasn't thrown a baseball in 3 years. Got Schwarber and all those hit Realmuto. Harper's going to show up in camp in a couple days. He can't play with the elbow injury, but they're all standing around watching this kid throw BP. You got to figure his nickname's Navy, right? Hey,
I
Navy.
don't know. They might just call him Lieutenant.
That's true.
They might just call him Lieutenant.
So Dombrowski, $100,000 Dombrowski had to write a check for. And he's like, yeah, sure. It's a risk, and the odds are against him and all that. But last time I saw him pitch, he threw 95. I don't know what to tell you.
Fascinating story to see if he can.
They got to keep him on the roster the whole year, and if they don't, then other people can claim them and the whole deal. So, but we talk about the meaning of spring training games and how they're virtually meaningless now. I mean, the 26-man roster, at least 24 spots for every team are seemingly already written in ink.
And not seemingly, they're set. They're really set by contracts.
So Navy Lieutenant Noah Song,
and he's still in the Navy.
Yes, he's got it. They changed his status.
Okay, so he could, if he were to make the team, he could play, or
Okay. He was at the Naval Air Station in Jacksonville as a member of the Fleet Replacement Squadron for P-8 Poseidon aircraft. All right. And he had no idea, by the way, he had been claimed by the Phillies. like his high school coach sent him a text and said, "Hey, did you see you got picked up in the Rule 5 draft?" And he responded back, "No, who?" And the coach said, "You." So, yeah, they changed his status. I can't find out exactly, what he now is. His request to be transferred to the selective reserves, would it be granted? And it finally was. But you figure, it's 25. He hasn't pitched since 2019. I mean, who the hell's going to claim him? So he's got 5 weeks to make up for 3.5 years.
Wonder who he was throwing to in the Navy. Who's the catcher? That's what I want to know.
Or is he just throwing like 40 balls into the Atlantic? I see those jets fly over, where our condo is stationed. They fly right over us, very low. I can read the numbers on the plane. That's how low they are. So, but Noah Song. If you pay attention to anything that happens in spring training, the Phillies Noah Song, 25 years old, trying to make the big club from the Navy. And he hasn't pitched in 3+ years. What the heck?
Text line is open at 21,000. People still chiming in on whether or not wings can be too big. People commenting on yesterday was National Chili Day and National Toast Day, and I said chili would blow it out. Someone very matter-of-factly said, I think toast would have given it a lot more fight than you think. I know people who say buttered toast is their favorite food. And then, David, we brought up the Bruins and one more cup.
There you go.
And a Leafs fan just chimed in and said, forget about one more cup. I just want my Maple Leafs to win a single cup.
That's right. Yep.
And then someone just chimed in with their dip sauce, creamy jalapeno ranch. It's the effing bomb.
Oh.
It's ranch dressing. It's a salad dressing. It's not a dip for tortilla chips. All right, let's just get this straight. It's queso, it's salsa, it's guac, okay? Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
RCB, I don't see the Mets in the World Series. The rotation is old, and I don't think they have enough offense. They have a lot of solid bats in that lineup, but they don't have a ton of thump. I mean, besides Alonso, who do you think of hitting home runs in that lineup? That's just me.
Daniel Vogelback, the skinny version.
I know. Can't wait to see him. I have to admit, though, Kyle Schwarber and Daniel Vogelback, both skinny, is very
I don't like the
disheartening.
skinny. I'm not going to joke there. I mean, probably should have brought. If I should have seen that on. I saw it yesterday. Should have been a Fat Tuesday thing.
The Rays pick is fascinating, RCB.
Well, he's a Rays fan.
I understand, though, but it's actually, you know, I mean, right now, $20. Rays going to make the playoffs, yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Most people nationally would say no, though. It's like, if you guys have been paying attention.
Any at all? I'm still can't name 6 players on their team, but I think they'll make the playoffs.
No, I think I could name more guys they unloaded this offseason that are actually on the team.
No, they got rid of my guy. They got rid of a couple of my guys that I liked.
And they still held on to a Rosarena, but golly. I can't wait till the whole Bally's thing goes down and those games are unable to be viewed for a short time. Because does anybody think Major League Baseball is just the very next day going to go, okay, we got a plan. Here's what we're going to do.
David, I don't fully get this Bally's thing. Like, is DirecTV just going to take them off the air?
Well, right. I'm wondering, like, are they going to go black? Are they going to go test pattern? I mean, what's going to happen?
Right. Because you would think they would want to, I mean, staying on cable does what? It keeps them some revenue coming in.
Exactly.
To pay off their debtors. So I don't right. have, I'm not smart enough to get this. I'm really not. I'm really confused with this story that I could do an hour-long interview and still think I'm clueless. By the way, they're Hockey Saturday. They're giving you Capitals, Rangers, and then Pens, Blues. Blues aren't going to make the playoffs. Brockway just lambasted them for not trying. I don't know if they are the favorite in the East. What's the Braves over under?
The Braves are the favorite, I believe.
Yeah, I don't even think they're the favorite, DC.
Even when the Nats won the World Series, they won it as a wild card. Pens are a mess. Caps are a mess. Blues are a total mess.
Gosh, I tell you what, I didn't look at the standings. I think the Red Wings might be a wild card team right now.
Are they tied? Are they tied for the final spot?
They're tied, but they've got the better percentage. They're tied with the Panthers, and they've got 3 games in hand.
Right. And Pittsburgh's
a point back. The Sabres are 2 back, and the Caps are 2 back.
Wow.
I mean, the Senators are only 6 back.
I know. But they got to jump like 5 teams.
No, I know. But I mean, the fact of the matter is you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you throw Ottawa in, you've got 7 teams fighting for 2 spots right now. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Kevin Brockway in less than 20 minutes. Talk about the interesting set of circumstances going on in Gainesville with the Gators football and men's basketball programs. Henry Yoho at the top of the hour. We'll talk a little Lightning a week before the NHL trading deadline. See, this is, for the two of us, probably a little bit more me even than you, Mark, but this is actually a great time of the sports year. I know many of you are starting to go through football withdrawal. We're a week away from the NHL trade deadline. The season's got about 25 to 30% left in it. We're past the NBA All-Star break and trading deadline, in which now we're down to about 22 games, in which now they're actually going to play somewhat hard and somewhat often. I mean, this is actually the point of the regular season where if you're going to tune in, now's the time to do it. Hope springs eternal in baseball, and the NFL business year has essentially already started, even though the new year doesn't kick in until March 15th, because, well, guys are already getting cut.
And tags will start being assigned. I don't know.
Well,
I mean, it can
now and
happen
March
now.
7th. It can,
But
it has to happen by March 7th.
But next week, you'll start seeing tags being made.
And there's already one high-profile quarterback who's available, and there could be 3 or 4. I mean, Tannehill, apparently the Titans are really torn. Hey, he's a starting quarterback in the league. And as Pat's talked about, he's got 12 to 16 teams who have quarterback issues. Ryan Tannehill would answer a question for about 8 to 10 teams in the league. There's the Lamar thing, in which there's now thought that he's going to get traded, which I find amazing. But apparently Atlanta, Mark, has sent out the smoke signals and said, hey, if you put that exclusive tag on him, all right, we'll give you 2 first-round picks for him. I mean, just so you know. And apparently they're prepared to pay him.
That in and of itself is, to me, the most fascinating part, because it looks as if there are 31 owners who hate the Cleveland Browns for the Deshaun Watson contract. The guaranteed money has the league quite honked off. And Lamar will not do a deal unless it's greater than what Deshaun got. I mean, all indications are he wants more money and he wants it all guaranteed.
Deshaun got 5 for $230. It kicks in beginning this year. That's 46 per. All of it guaranteed. Most NFL contracts are no more than 70% guaranteed. Never mind the fact that 46 per makes him top 5 at the position. Lamar reportedly, and you got to figure this information's coming from the Ravens. Lamar reportedly has given the Ravens 4 contract offers. None of them less than 5 for $230. So that's the canyon, because apparently the Ravens offered him 5 for $250, but they were only willing to guarantee like 130 to 150 of it. And Lamar goes, yeah, I'm not interested. And see, Mark, this is the interesting part to me. You're Atlanta. I'm the Ravens. We agree on the compensation, 2 1s and whatever. I mean, in theory, he's not going to accept less from you than he was asking of me, right?
Right.
So are you, I mean, Lamar is so far indicated that, hey, don't think I'd settle for like 180 or 200 of it guaranteed. No. I want every flipping dime.
Arthur Blank's 80.
And they got a ton of money.
They want a Super Bowl. They want to win. He desperately wants to win. We've talked about this with other teams and other owners, and you start to have to look at Arthur Blank, 80-year-old man who watched a Super Bowl slip away from him, and he desperately wants to get back to that game.
And let's be honest, whether you hate the deal if they made it. Let's just say you don't like it. You don't like the contract that Atlanta would pay. You don't like the 2 first-round picks or more, whatever. But if you put Lamar Jackson on Atlanta, who's the favorite in the NFC South next year?
Atlanta.
Probably the Falcons. Since apparently Tampa's going with Kyle Trask, Carolina doesn't have anybody, and the Saints right now look as if they're going to rewind it with Andy Dalton. This isn't the 2013 Bengals, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay.
If this was 2013, I'd give the Saints a half a shot in that division. Right now, I don't give them any.
And Alvin Kamara might not be available anytime soon also. I don't know if you've seen the video that's emerged from Vegas. So, but then again, it's NFL justice. Who the heck knows? I mean, if he's an owner, he probably wouldn't miss any time at all. But he's a player, so he's probably in deep trouble. Back to Lamar. But now if you're the Ravens, I mean, team calls you up, says they'll give you 2 first-round picks. Maybe they go bat blank crazy. They say we'll give you 2 firsts and 2 seconds, or 2 firsts and a second. Hell, we'll give you 3 firsts. Great. Now who's your quarterback? Your team's ready to win. You think you're really good. When he's healthy, you are really good. Honestly.
I could do some trading if I were the Ravens. I mean, if you're going to deal Lamar, I could sign Carr. I could be trading for Mike Evans. I mean, I could go bat blank crazy if I were the Ravens right now.
So that's what you would do. You would be like, here, have him. Henny Youngman, take my wife, please.
I'm convinced the Ravens have no desire to pay him that much guaranteed money.
And you're correct.
So sign him to the tag. Take me 2 firsts.
Okay. By the way, is that enough for you? I'm being serious. If you're the Ravens.
No, I'd want more.
I was going to say,
I would.
He turns 26 this season. 26. I mean, that's the funny thing. If you sign Lamar to a 5-year contract, he's 30, turning 31 the next time he gets another. I mean, if Lamar Jackson stays healthy, isn't he going to make $500 million? I digress.
Miller and Moulton. Time now for our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Felipe, we're up against it. What do you got for us?
To the Amway Center in Orlando we go. Tie game, 4 seconds left. Magic hosting the Pistons. Here's the call.
Fultz to trigger. Into Banchero. Here goes Paulo. Gets to the free throw line. Left-handed runner up. And a putback is good. A putback is good. Officials are looking around. It's Wendell Carter Jr. Ball game. Book it.
Ball game. Book it.
That's our Clutch Vodka play of the day. That's Clutch with a K. Look for them wherever you're buying your vodka. Look for them online at clutchspirits.com and hashtag any of your drinks with the hashtag Clutch Spirits.
That's Miller and Moulton's Orlando Magic.
That's right. We were the first ones to notice, and we're even including people in Orlando. We were the first ones to notice that they actually are playing pretty well.
Playing hard, but they've still got to get through. They got to get past 4 teams to make the playoffs. They're 4 games back. It's probably too tall of a task for them to reach the postseason.
I think they have no shot because, unfortunately, Mark, the 9 and 10 teams in the East have gotten their act together. Washington and Toronto are 9-10. They're both actually playing really well. I think the Raptors have won like 6 of 7. So I think Orlando can get to 11. I don't think they can get into the play-in game.
But they are a team that is on the rise. You had one more. Somehow they get lucky, get up there in the lottery, win the lottery, and get what's the big guy's name there? The freak
Wembanyama.
Yeah, I mean that's not going to happen from the 9 or 10 spot more than likely. But
you mean the guy LeBron called an alien?
Kevin Brockway, definitely not an alien. He talks Gators with us next on Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
It's also why people are selling, Mark.
Not really, because
Well-
you can't move anywhere. There's no inventory out there.
People are just downsizing.
Well, there's no real inventory out there. They're not really selling. I mean, being someone that's actually in the business, there's not a lot of inventory out there.
But there's not a lot of people that are selling houses to just downsize and live in like condos. Apartments. No.
No, because interest rates are 7%. That condo you're downsizing to, you're paying all this interest.
Sure.
Well, and it makes sense, right? You got far more people trying to move to Florida than leave Florida.
Mm-hmm. And people aren't just moving to get a better house right now because of interest rates. You know what I mean? If you're in a house like yours or my, we're set, but like the move I made recently, it'd be really tough to do that with what interest rates are right now. Cash buyers are fine.
I was just saying because I know a lot of people, like my friends' parents in Miami, who are selling their houses because it's at an all-time high in value right now. But they obviously still want to live in Miami.
What you're buying is still at an all-time high. So unless you're doing it with cash, you're not doing it because of the interest rates.
And Felipe, it's great if as long as they have a place to go.
Right.
They'll make some money and they'll downsize and like when I moved and I said to Mark, I go, my goal is to have this be net neutral. If I can put money in the bank after moving costs and closing costs and the whole deal, that's awesome. But I don't want to have to dip into my accounts. And fortunately, when everything was done, I made some money.
Nice.
Felipe, we put my house on the market, about 2 p.m. on a Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
And it got a full price offer before Friday dinner.
Holy.
And I give the people who bought it a lot of credit. They clearly had, gone through the ringer at least once because they said to me, you got 24 hours to accept. So like they didn't give me the weekend to, entertain people and, I think we had one person that was lined up to come see it. And we said, just so you know, before you walk in the door, already got a full price offer.
I had a good day yesterday. I got another listing. Got a guy who's looking for a place, trying to get this one closed. Oh, yeah. Anything to keep that membership for another year, David.
What it's all about.
You're damn right. It's priority one. Well, now she's starting to see that this is where I'm getting business. So she's laid off.
Right.
I mean, she knows, but it's like when she's working as hard as she is. What'd you do today? I played golf. You worked 10 hours. It can cause them.
Come on now. You worked 4 to 5. And of course, there's commercial breaks, and you got a co-host, so you were grinding. That's a tough sell. It's a tough
Really
sell.
is.
You better get those listings.
I think I didn't text her that when I got that.
He's on hold, by the way.
Awesome.
I haven't played golf in so long. Just don't golf. Also, it's expensive. Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
Where we ask the hard-hitting questions every day. Like today, National Tortilla Chip Day. So our poll question is, what's the best thing to have with your chips? Salsa, queso, guacamole. Right now, queso, solidly in front, has the early lead. Go to that, Mark Miller, the David Moulton, FL Sports Network on Twitter or floridasportsnetwork.com and vote. It's one of those questions you got to ask every guest who comes on, like Kevin Brockway. He covers the Gators, Gainesville Sun, Gannett papers throughout the state. All right, Kevin, we'll get to the Gators in a moment, but first, what are you putting on your tortilla chip?
Guacamole.
Let's see. There you go.
That's the choice right there.
That's something David can't handle. You've known him a long time, Kevin. It's green. It makes him nervous. It might be healthy in his eyes, so he stays away.
Yeah, I'm a guac guy. I mean, queso's pretty good too, but guac rules out.
All right, the Gators. They're getting some coaches leaving. If you're a Gator fan, should you be happy that Napier's put together a good staff? Should you be concerned that they're losing all these coaches? What's going on in Gainesville with the Florida football staff?
Well, I think he had a plan. I think he knew about some of these things, particularly the defensive coordinator, because he's got someone in place that's going to replace him fairly soon, Austin Armstrong. I would be a little concerned because the spring practice starts next week. So you would hope that he could find a couple of replacements for Kerry Colbert and William Piegler quickly. I'll be interested to see if they repurpose Piegler's position because of the fact that special teams is a big issue, and they had a special teams analyst and not a special teams coach. So maybe that would be a direction that he would go in for Piegler's position. But Kerry Colbert's actually a very well-respected coach and certainly did a great job at USC, and this is a pro opportunity for him. Some people are concerned about the timing, but really if you look at all these positions, it's because of NFL coaching changes in Arizona and in Denver. So they don't have a timetable as to when to fill their staffs. And I also think, too, the NFL right now, I think coaching in the NFL is an easier job. You're not dealing with recruiting and NIL and a lot of the other ancillary things right now that you have to deal with as a college coach. That certainly is very stressful because the landscape is changing.
He's Kevin Brockway. He covers the Gators for the Gainesville Sun and Gannett papers throughout the state of Florida. Follow Kevin on Twitter, Kevin Brockway G1. Kevin Brockway G1. Kevin, do you think that's a change from 3 to 5 years ago when, remember, there were a lot of NFL guys who in the late 20-teens were going to college because it was a better life. And now because of maybe it's NIL, maybe it's just, recruiting is 24/7, 365 because of it, that maybe now they're fleeing back to Sundays. Kevin, I remember asking you questions about all the coaches who were leaving the NFL to go to college.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, because college, I think you get more money as an assistant. It seems like there are bigger contracts for some of these assistant coaches just because there's really a craving for a big time coordinator or a position coach. But quality of life right now, I would have to give it to the NFL. Like I said, because of the fact that I think the demands of the college assistant jobs with recruiting, with NIL, it's a lot. It really has become a lot, and it really has become a 24/7. And I think there really is a lot of stress right now on college coaches and college assistant coaches dealing with the new landscape and dealing with a landscape that I think is evolving and changing, and where they don't really know, what the playing field is and how level the playing field is.
Kevin, help me out. When you talk about the coaches not liking NIL, I get it from the head coaching standpoint, but are assistants coaches being pressed with NIL deals from players? What is it about the NIL that's having the assistant coaches? I get the portal. I get a lot of those things, but where is NIL affecting assistant coaches?
Well, the assistants are on the front lines in recruiting. A lot of times the assistants are the ones that are going out there and trying to, go and visit the recruits and stuff. And the head coach is more of the hammer. He's the guy that finishes the deal off. So I think there's a lot of stress from assistant coaches because it's generally the head coach that says, hey, as the assistants, you guys go out and get the players. So I think there's that aspect of it. And I'm sure there's a lot of frustration, too, because you think that you've developed a relationship and you think you've closed a deal on a player, and then something comes up at the last minute, and most of that time it's because the collective offers more money. So I'm sure that really maybe gets under an assistant coach's skin that's really worked hard to recruit a player.
Kevin, is the Gators offense in, I don't want to say turmoil, but rough shape. I mean, they lost a bunch of offensive linemen. They lost wide receivers in the portal. The quarterback room is either inexperienced or completely new. They just lost their wide receiver coach and their tight end coach a week before spring ball. I mean, I like their running back depth chart, but I have to admit, Kevin, right now, otherwise on offense, I don't know if I like anything else about the Gators.
Yeah, when we last spoke to Billy Napier, he was high on Graham Mertz. David, you probably know from your Big Ten background or covering games throughout the country that Graham Mertz is a guy that certainly has had some ups and downs, and he had that great debut against Illinois where he was 20-21, and people thought that he was going to be kind of the next big thing, and then he had a very inconsistent career. And last year, I think 19 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, but he was sacked 23 times last year, which, certainly, and most of the writers I talked to up in the Wisconsin area said if you give him time, he's not bad, but he's not going to bring back any memories of Anthony Richardson. He's not the most elusive guy. And we'll see about Jack Miller, too. Jack will compete, obviously, in the Las Vegas Bowl, losing Osiris Torrance. The offensive line was not what it was during the course of the season. I like some of the moves they've made on the offensive line. They're really big there right now. And Damian George, the transfer that they brought in from Alabama, Keontae Goodwin, another tackle from Kentucky who had some weight issues, but they're working on that. And probably the best of the bunch is going to be kidding Micah Mazuka, a right guard who's going to fill in for Torrance, and is a guy that's has a real good track record as a run blocker. I think Pro Football Focus had him as the fourth best run blocker in the country. So I think they've addressed the offensive line pretty well, even with the defections. But I do think that certainly quarterback and wide receiver, you got Ricky Pearsall back, you've got Xavier Henderson back, and they have some young guys that are going to get an opportunity. They have 3 freshmen. I think that they're really high on them, enrolled early. Andy Jean, Eugene Wilson, and Aiden Mizell are 3 guys in state that, maybe could see the field as true freshmen. We'll see.
Mark, one thing to keep an eye on with the Wisconsin quarterback, he took 90% of his snaps under center in Wisconsin. Napier's offense has the quarterback in the shotgun the overwhelming part of the time. That will be an interesting transition for him, just going from taking snaps under center to operating out of the shotgun. Something to keep an eye on.
And I think that's obviously that's one part of it. The other part, I think just giving him a better offensive line is going to certainly help that process get along. But let's switch gears a little bit, Kevin, from football to basketball. They lost to Kentucky the other night. The basketball program in a similar spot right now. They're not going to make the tournament. What went wrong this year?
Yeah, I think, certainly, people could point to the Colin Castleton injury last week because, they were 14-12 and the schedule would have lightened up and they could have made a run. I think it's a little deeper than that. I think it was a first-year coach, a very hard SEC for him to navigate, a tough non-conference schedule that didn't do any favors for their confidence. I think all of it contributed. They played pretty well in January, and they were trying to build around defense and Castleton, who was the best shot blocker in the SEC. The big problem is the physicality, and it was very, it got to the point at the end of the year where they were playing four guards because they were the four players. And Riley Kugel, a freshman kid from Dr. Phillips in Orlando, is going to be a really nice piece to build around. And he had 24 against Kentucky. But when you play four guards in the center in the SEC and some of these guys are playing more traditional front lines, you're going to get killed on the boards. And, last night, I think it was 15-0 second chance points, or Wednesday night, against Kentucky. I think that I think it's something they've got to address. They got to get better big guys around Castleton. They got to get better size and just better toughness in that area. And if they don't, then I think this program is going to be kind of stuck in mediocrity.
Well, aren't they there? I mean, I know Billy made the Elite Eight in 2013. He left shortly thereafter. They've made the second week of the tournament once since he left, right? When they went to the Elite Eight. What was it, 6 years ago? I mean, this am I wrong with that?
No, he said that's Mike White's second year.
Yeah, Mike White's second year in 2017. That was the Chris Chiozza team. They made the Elite Eight. Yeah.
And so if you think about it, we're going on about 10 years here where they've made the second week of the tournament once. I mean, this was one of the 5 best programs in the country for 12 plus years here. I mean, Kevin, are we just going to look back at that as, like the Spurrier years? I mean, where's the Urban Meyer run, if you know what I mean? Where's the, when's Florida going to be great again?
Yeah, I think that it speaks to the fact of the job that Billy Donovan did, the elite coach, right, during that tenure. And they made the Final Four in 2014. Obviously, that was Billy's last great team. Now he's in the NBA with the Chicago Bulls, and they tried Mike White, who got him in the tournament but couldn't really get him very far. And now they're trying Todd Golden, who looks like, might not even make the NIT in his first season unless they get on a roll here late in the season. So yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of unrest in Gainesville. I mean, there's no SEC football championship in basketball since 2014, no SEC championship in football since 2008. So, in the major revenue sports, you've been going on kind of a long drought here. And I think there's, to use the Ron Vick term, some noise in the system up in Gainesville, and they're wondering even a little bit about Scott Strickland and where the leadership is.
Well, the coaches cost a lot more to get rid of than the AD, and at some point somebody will take the fall. They always do. Kevin, enjoy spring ball beginning next week. Hopefully we can talk maybe midway through it.
Yes, it'll be fun. Thank you, guys.
Kevin Brockway covers the Gators for the Gainesville Sun and Gannett papers throughout the state of Florida. Follow Kevin on Twitter, Kevin Brockway G1. Kevin Brockway G1.
Doesn't paint the rosiest picture.
Well, Kevin's a straight shooter. He's not going to, pump air into the system just to pump him up. Back-to-back 6 and 7 seasons in football. Okay. Mike White was basically make the NCAA tournament, win first round or lose first round kind of a guy. They're going to be 500 basically first year after Mike White. I mean, I will say this, Mark, the gymnastics program's selling out. selling out. I mean, men's basketball attendance is taking a hit, but the gymnastics team's putting about 10,000 in that place.
Thank goodness for that. And baseball's just started up too. So there's another sport that they're terrific at. But for the ones that most of their fan base care about,
right.
In fact, for the one most of their fan base cares about, the good news you should be able to take from that is it sounds like the offensive line is going to be improved. And I'm not joking. Well, hey, you got to start somewhere. And if you have a quarterback that can't move, let's hope you have a good offensive line.
So they're deep at running back. Maybe the line is better. And then, okay, we'll start to see if some of the Napier recruits at wide receiver can pay dividends early. I mean, I think that's, if you're a Gators fan, what you're going to have to look for in 2023. Because from a one-loss standpoint, it ain't going to happen before 2024.
You pointed it out yesterday, the schedule that they play. Georgia and Tennessee, both going to be top 10 teams preseason. They open at Utah. They cross over with LSU.
That doesn't include at Kentucky, at South Carolina. I mean, Georgia, LSU, Tennessee, all top 10, Utah top 15. And then some tricky road games. I mean, heck, even, some of their home games. I mean, like Arkansas is not going to be, that's not a walk in the park. I mean, you'll be a slight favorite, but that's not a guaranteed win. So 5 games before October. If you're a Gators fan right now, would you take 3-2? I would. Give me 3-2 heading October.
Man. The rebuild is not happening overnight. And Gator fan right now listening knows you're probably right and doesn't want to hear it.
No. Kirby won the SEC in his second year. Nick played for the SEC in his second year. Urban won the national title in his second year. That's what Napier's up against. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlifetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Paul, do I sense sarcasm with "it's a blast trying to find a place to live in this market"?
Need a better realtor, Paul.
Hey.
Listen, no BS, because this is buying and selling a home, and that's about as serious as it gets. Mark was amazing. I mean, he really was.
Thank you.
I mean, you really were. You were thorough. You were prepared. You never didn't have the answer to a question that I had. And we got this.
I got two really smart people who have the answers if I don't. That's
well,
I mean,
hey, whatever it is.
Buck's been at it for, you think about it. Buck's been at this for 20 years now. In the broker, John's been at it for over 40.
But, I mean, we start.
No, it doesn't scream that. It screams, I'm trying desperately to keep my wife off my back and make some more money. I'm not rich. If I were rich, I wouldn't be getting up at 4:30 in the morning.
I was going to say, wouldn't.
Okay, if I were rich, I might, because I love doing this show. I do. I'm like you. I'm addicted to this.
Well, I will say this: if one of us was rich, we would not be doing the 9 o'clock hour. That I could guarantee you. Okay. If either
into the syndicated portion of the program, and because I'm rich, I'm not doing the 9 o'clock hour.
And now, welcome to Keyshawn Johnson, already in progress. Yes, that's how the show would end if one of us was rich.
When you were rich, would you get us a new studio?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, thanks.
We would be at our buddy's place. Although he's got so much business right now, it's not even available to us, but we would figure it out. I reached out to him
who you got?
Gentry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I reached out to him 6 weeks ago, and he was like, I don't think I could make room for you guys.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's that busy.
Quickly, and I know that you've explained this before in the past, but once again, what is the backstory of Hello?
Larry King. Who did?
That does sound like Larry.
40 to 50 years of national TV and radio, and when he would go to the phones, he would go, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, hello.
It does sound like him. All right, thanks. Rest in peace, by the way.
It wasn't always the case, obviously, but it always seemed between his national radio show, which was based out of Miami.
Oh my gosh.
And
yeah.
it was never New York City, Los Angeles. It was always, Paducah, Kentucky. Hello.
The minor league baseball team cities.
Totally. Right. Altoona, Pennsylvania. Wahpeton, North Dakota. Let me know when you got Henry.
I got Henry. We got 15 seconds.
Awesome.
Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the 8 o'clock hour of Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Our final hour of the day and week in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice. The bonus hour is an hour away in the 239. Henry Yoho is kind enough to join us. He is part of the fine staff at boltsbythebay.com. boltsbythebay.com. You can follow Henry on Twitter at Bolts by the Bay. Henry, it's David and Mark. Thanks for your time, particularly at this hour. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on.
It's our pleasure. All right. You wrote a piece a few days ago in which you said the Lightning do not have to match what the Maple Leafs have done. Well, now that the Bruins have made a big move, are you sure the Lightning can just stay pat?
Yeah. So I think essentially what I was getting at was, not necessarily standing pat per se and kind of just sitting by. I think my stance was that, I was essentially thinking that the Lightning don't necessarily need to change their plans so much for the deadline that they were coming in with necessarily, just because I don't think that the move that they made should totally change course for what the Lightning were going to do. I think that they already were coming into this deadline knowing what their sort of needs were, and we're going to go about those needs just based on themselves and not sort of to get in a sort of arms race with the other teams. So essentially I was saying that I don't think that those moves that the other teams are making are going to change the direction that this team's going to go in any sort of drastic way. I think that they're just going to make the moves based on what they identify as best for themselves, and not so much to keep up with any of their division opponents.
Well, what would you do? Would you tinker much, or where would you try to make a move to help this team for the stretch run and obviously into the postseason?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, obviously, as the team is right now, it's a pretty solid group. The hands are tied a bit for management coming into this deadline. They don't have a ton of assets. They essentially have no cap space. So they're not really in a position to make a real big move. And I do think that there's going to be some small move made, maybe one or two players potentially brought in. And it's not going to be any of the big headline names that you've already seen come off the board. I think it's going to be somebody who's maybe a third or fourth line type guy, coming in on a great value contract, probably somebody, probably not making more than, $1 or $2 million a year, or like a depth defenseman coming in, guys who are coming in on good value deals, who can bring some into the lineup, who can slide into a role, and just more depth pieces, really, more than anything. But I definitely do think that there will be something because, in the 2019 season, whenever the Lightning won the President's Trophy, they ended up kind of standing pat at the deadline and didn't make a move because they didn't want to tamper with the roster. And, obviously things went downhill from there, getting swept out in the first round. So I do think there's something that would need to be done, but I don't think it'll be something major just because it's not realistic for them to be able to do something real big. At least we don't think so.
He's Henry Yoho. He covers the Lightning for boltsbythebay.com, boltsbythebay.com. You can follow that site at Bolts by the Bay on Twitter. You can follow Henry at Henry Yoho, Y-O-H-O. So you'd be okay if they add a third-line defenseman and or a bottom six forward, and that's it. You don't think to get through Toronto, Boston, Carolina / the Rangers and get back to their fourth straight final, you don't think they need any more firepower?
Yeah. I would say probably they don't need to add another high-end player, just because I feel like the price tags that are going to be associated with the most high-end players, I don't think that they'll be able to pay compared to some of the other teams that might have more assets available or, more available cap space. They don't have a first or second round pick in this year's draft. They don't have a first round pick in next year's draft. Those are the expensive price tags that are being played for some of the more high end players that are already going. And I do think that they'll be more in line for a player to slot into a third line type position. They've liked guys coming in to fill a role, like to kill penalties and stuff, like Barclay Goodrow and Blake Coleman from years past, who have been more of your grinder type players, more so than your high end skilled players to play up front. And those guys have been pretty effective for them in the past. So I think they're trying to identify somebody like that, especially like somebody like Nick Paul last year, who came up big in the playoffs, playing down in a depth role in the lineup. I think that type of player they're looking for more so than more of a highly skilled type of player.
You know, it's tough to look for holes, even though they're obviously, you know, well behind Boston, but what they're doing is amazing. Is there an area where you think they have to? I mean, you know, their defense is pretty damn good. They got the best goaltender, and if not the best goaltender in the world, one of the best three in the world still. Obviously, they're scoring goals at a pace with anybody in the league. Is there an area that they need to improve in?
Yeah, I think, like you mentioned, the defense is a pretty solid group, and they've got the best goaltender for sure. I think they're, you know, like I said, they're probably in a position to add another defenseman. But I think maybe they'd probably identify forward depth first, because pretty much this entire season, they have not carried an extra forward. They've been dressing the same 12 forwards pretty much the entire season. And, you know, of course, of a playoff run, you're probably going to have some injuries pop up. So I think that they'll probably want to add another forward as we get a little bit closer here to the deadline, just because you got to have that sort of depth. And I don't think they'd be comfortable totally if somebody went down at this point in time, because you'd probably have somebody from the American League team coming in at this point. So I think, you know, adding another winger or center play in that bottom six is going to be someone who could be certainly identified for this team as a way to improve.
You said they have very little salary cap room. Obviously, you can get other teams to take salary, but you usually have to give up high draft picks. Do you think the Lightning would be willing to do what the Bruins did yesterday? The Bruins gave up 4 picks, but they gave up a first rounder in a rental deal. Do you think the Lightning would do that?
Yeah, I think they absolutely would, you know, sort of give up additional capital in the drafts to do that, because, you know, like I said, there's no cap room right now, and we've already seen quite a few teams that were tied up against the cap having to bring in a third dance partner to make a deal in order to retain some salary to make a certain player work. But of course, in order to do that, like you mentioned, you got to give up you know, a lot more as far as draft stock goes. And you know, the Lightning don't have the first and second round pick this year, so that's, their hands are a bit tied with that. I think they would be certainly willing to part way with, you know, some of the best picks that they have available. Still, I certainly think that they'd be willing to do that. You know, they gave up a similar sort of deal at the 2021 trade deadline when they brought in David Savard. A similar sort of situation when they didn't really have much cap room and had to bring in additional teams and give up more picks in order for a certain salary to be retained. So I do definitely think that is a possibility of a way to bring in a player to get their sort of cap hit down. I do think that is something that they're certainly exploring for sure.
Henry Yoho covers the Tampa Bay Lightning along with the staff at boltsbythebay.com. Bolts by B-Y the Bay. boltsbythebay.com. Follow Henry on Twitter at Henry Yoho, Y-O-H-O. Henry, thanks for doing this, particularly at this hour, and hopefully we can catch up after the deadline and see what they did.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Henry Yoho, kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton, trying to make a 4th straight Stanley Cup final. Man, that's a lot of hockey, which all started with the pandemic year, and the playoffs were 3-4 months later than normal. They have played a staggering amount of hockey in the last less than 3 full calendar years.
And this is what's so wild. And I'm not into all the metrics of hockey, but just their goal differential. You know, they're as good as anybody in the league not named Boston, who's at plus 93. It's just unheard of. Just throw this is, you know, when I used to live in markets and work in markets, there was one dominant radio station. You just throw that out and look at the rest of the ratings. You just throw the Bruins out. They're plus 37 in goal differential. They scored 206 goals. That's among the leaders in the league. They've given up 169. It's really solid. There's not a lot of areas for this team to improve, if you know what I mean. And the biggest thing with the big move at the deadline, David, is as Henry pointed out, they don't have the cap space to pull it off, to get a Patrick Kane.
Their goal differential would be the best in the Western Conference, and it's 5th best in the East. That's how hard the East is. I mean, you could argue the 3 best teams are in the same division. I mean, if I told you Boston, Toronto, and Tampa Bay were the 3 best teams in the league, how far off base am I there?
It's just where do you put Carolina? It's just not trusting Carolina, whether it's their goaltending or whatever it is. But I don't think that you're wrong, if you know what I mean.
And, you know, the NHL, which has had many different playoff formats in the last couple generations, but they've settled back on how it used to be in the 80s, which was you had to get out of your own division. And this year, Tampa's division is far and away the best. And the other division in the East is really good. Carolina, Jersey, and the Rangers, that ain't, you know, but that's like Pikes Peak compared to Everest. I mean, honestly, the Tampa Bay, Toronto, Boston division is climbing Everest, particularly if you're Toronto or Tampa Bay, because you're going to have to win 2 series. Tampa 2 points behind Toronto with a game in hand. It wasn't relevant last year. Toronto had home ice and Tampa won a game 7 north of the border. But, you know, at some point, I don't know. I think you'd rather be second than third. Maybe not. I don't know. Might take pressure off.
Game 7 at home. I still would. I mean, I know it doesn't mean anything anymore, but the Lightning have developed one of the best fan bases in the sport. Period.
I will say
I'd want game 7 at home.
I agree with you, but I actually think it'd be an advantage for Toronto to start on the road, because I think there's so much pressure on the Leafs when they're at home. Like a split is considered, you know, the end of the world in Toronto, where Tampa would be like, hell, we'll take 1-1 going to game 3. Let's go.
It is going to be just outstanding.
Magnificent. Magnificent. If you're not a fan of hockey, take in the Toronto-Tampa Bay first-round series. You'll become a fan of hockey. Trade deadline in a week. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yinzer, would you take Carolina over Boston, Tampa Bay, or Toronto? Straight up, 7-game series. Who would you pick?
And Tampa can score power play goals. Their power play is terrific. It's one of the best in the league. So is Toronto's, which can do it in the postseason. More importantly, can I win 4 in a row to get into the hockey fantasy playoffs? That's what's really important, David.
No. Yinzer, I'm not asking you which one. I'm saying if you had Carolina and you're going up against Boston, then you're going Toronto or Tampa Bay. Would you pick Carolina in any of those 3 best of 7s? I would not. I actually think Carolina needs Patrick Kane. And I'm sure he doesn't have Carolina on his list of teams that he wants to go to. But if I'm Carolina, I got to talk him into it. Well, hell, Boston just did yesterday. I'll tell you what, Pittsburgh should sell.
They won't.
They never will, but they should.
So should Washington. Well, they just
Well,
get.
I was going to say that was a hell of a move they did yesterday. They were like right on the edge of the playoffs and to sell off their best defenseman. Ovechkin, I'll bet, is not happy about that.
I don't think Ovechkin cares. He got his cup. He's got his money. I think he's just trying to score goals for the record. I really don't know if he cares.
I will say he's hit a wall here.
If Ken Holland were to pull that off, I'd fall over, DC. But if I were Kane, I'd want to go to a team in the West.
Totally. I mean, let's be honest, if you're Kane, I mean, they need a second-line centerman more than they need a second-line winger, but golly, if he goes to Colorado. You got anything here?
That Netflix quarterback series we haven't really brought up yet.
Very random with the selections. I like it. And we talked a lot about Marcus Mariota before the season. Not a lot, but we covered him.
Yeah, I would have never picked him. He's going to be could be a third string quarterback by the time this.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Final hour of the week in Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. Bonus hour at the top of the hour for those in the 239. We have a poll question today. Maybe the best one we've ever asked. Maybe. Could be, maybe not, but pretty solid. Today's National Tortilla Chip Day. What are you dipping your chip into? Salsa, queso, or guac? Right now, queso winning. I was surprised you voted queso.
Yes. I love all three. This was an impossible question to answer because there is no wrong answer here. I mean, there are a lot of questions where people have answered it incorrectly.
Even though it's their opinion.
Correct. But I cannot argue with anyone who picks guacamole, queso, or salsa. Like Kevin Brockway went guacamole. Okay, it's a good choice. I love guacamole.
I'm shocked you didn't go guac at the end of the day.
Well, I've been in a queso mood lately. The wife got me, the wife and the mother and the mother-in-law, and they all pitched in and got me one of those smoker grills, like the Traegers. And
Right.
I've been making I've been even making my own smoked queso dip on the grill.
Wow.
So I've been into queso recently. So right now, queso is at the top of my list.
Gotcha. You're saying by tournament time, you could be back to guac.
Yeah. And I used to make a lot of homemade salsa, but the tomatoes are ripe now in Southwest Florida. So I can go to Farmer's Mike's and get me some nice tomatoes and make a good salsa. So that could get there too. There's no wrong answer here, David.
Well, I agree with you. Okay. Now, I'm not a guac guy, but I understand how popular it is and the whole deal. But Mark, listening to you, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm thinking, where am I going to go get my fresh produce? Okay. Where and upgrade the grill on my lanai. Okay. I'm thinking the exact same thing.
That is the one thing and I know you don't cook, but I am amazed that you've never really grilled, that you don't grill more. I get the whole cooking thing. Fine, you don't cook. The wife doesn't cook. The mother doesn't cook. Nobody. We go out to dinner 7 days a week. But at some point, I've seen you knock down a steak, and I've seen you do it quickly. I could just see the day coming where you're like, what sounds good? A steak. I'm going to grill me a steak because it's pretty simple to do. That's the one thing that I've been surprised that you've never been a grill guy.
Oh. Here's the deal. Like we were just discussing during a commercial break on the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv. If you can take in the show on Twitch, do so because the commercial breaks are usually pretty entertaining. And usually only half the time have something to do with sports. And we were just discussing things we would do if we were filthy rich. Okay. Like we wouldn't do a bonus hour in the 239. Okay. We'd buy that hour out. Okay. We just would. Okay. We'd say, nope. We would still do the show. Okay. But we wouldn't do 4 hours. We'd only do 3. Certain things we would do if we were filthy rich. Here's the deal. It's kind of like if you were filthy rich and you like boating, but to own a boat, it's costly. It's a lot of work involved, the whole deal. But if you're filthy rich, you pay and they have it docked and then they bring the damn thing out and you show up and get on it. Okay. And then you go boating and then you come back and you get off and they do all the work and they park the damn, that's how I would be. Like, I love to grill. I don't want to do any of the prep work. And I mean, none of it. Okay. And my wife, okay, there was a moment where I said, I'm getting a grill. And she said, basically, I'll leave you. And I went, what? And she said, you'll blow up the house. And
yeah, like, your wife has a major paranoia of anything being cooked within 100 yards of your home.
We never use the fireplace. We lived 22 years in our house in Fort Myers, never used the fireplace. We have a fireplace in the condo here. It'll never get used, ever, not once. All right. And vetoed a grill because apparently I was going to blow up the house. And so, me, being the sarcastic blankety blank that I am, that I said, well, why would I stop at the house? Why don't I just take out the whole block? I mean, why don't we just get a really big grill? As much propane as you could muster. I mean, in fact, forget the pool. I'll fill in the pool. I just want a grill on the lanai. That's it. Right in the middle of the lanai. Caution, stay back 200 feet. That's the kind of grilling. But I used to volunteer. I mean, me, I never go to church. But my wife, minister's daughter, goes all the time. And so she volunteers me for certain things. We used to once or twice a year, the big church picnic, I would be the griller. I would do steaks, hamburgers, hot dogs, the whole deal. Chicken, 4 or 5 hours. Loved it. I absolutely loved it.
But you can't have one at home.
No, because I'm going to blow the place up.
And
Right.
now you're probably condo life. My guess is you can't even have a grill on your patio. You probably have to have one, they frown upon that. They frown upon those things in condos.
It's funny you bring up whether or not you're allowed to have it or not. See, here's my feeling. I own the place.
Oh boy, he's never dealt with an HOA.
Okay.
Listen to him go, folks. Listen to him go.
That's number one. I own the place, completely paid off. Number two, the old adage, it's easier to beg forgiveness than ask for permission. Like, we're contemplating making some changes. My wife sent an email to the lady who's the president of the HOA asking what it is we're allowed to do and not allowed to do. No.
No. Yes. Actually, yes, David. This is where you're 100% in the wrong. You need to figure. Thank goodness your wife is doing this the right way.
No. And here's why. That lady's never going to be in our condo. We're in our 50s. We're going to live here till we die. Okay. We're probably going to outlive her. Okay. Knock down walls, whatever. She's not going to know.
You don't think with workers, boy, oh boy, you are in for a rude awakening of condo life. First off, even though no one in your condos probably know who you are yet, they all know you moved in and they're watching you. Do you know why? You're new. They're trying to figure out what the new guy is going to do. And when all of a sudden contractors start piling into your condo, they're going to run to the HOA and tell on you, because that's exactly what happens in those places. Okay. You have no idea what you're in store for coming up if you're going to play by the rules that you think you can play by.
So here's the deal. When I knock down the wall that separates the kitchen from the dining room and they come in and go, you can't do that, I'm going to look at them and go, well, don't know what to tell you. Wall's knocked down. Find me. I'm going to be Derek Coleman with Bill Fitch back in the day. I'm just going to hand the HOA a blank check signed and say, you fill out what you think is fair.
The odds are you can get away with it because it's inside. But I'm telling you right now, you start violating their rules, I wish you the best of luck. There's no help for you at that point.
Listen, I'm not changing what the outside of the condo looks like. All right. God forbid, you got to have the ugly brown screening and, and the certain tile and fine, whatever. I understand. But it's my condo. They'll actually take the condo from you. No, they will not. This is not Naples, for goodness sakes. Come on. It's Jacksonville. Please. I've got 2 lawyers who just sent me texts. Can't wait to read them during the commercial break. I'm guessing they're on your side.
I know they're on my side. You're an absolute moron right now. And I love you. And I'd take a bullet for you. But you have no idea how wrong you are right now. David, your mother got in trouble for flying a damn flag at her condo in New Jersey. And you think you can just arbitrarily knock walls down?
By the way, my mother kept flying the flag and kept paying the fines. Okay. That's how we roll, Mark.
Explains a lot. It explains a lot.
Can't tell me what I do.
Of course not.
Paid for this. It looks the same on the outside. What do you care what I do on the inside? I could knock all the walls down and grill. What do you care?
Then you'd lose your condo. But that's okay, as long as you get to do it the way you want to do it, David. That's what's important. To hell with the rules. Do it your way.
Whose condo is it at the end? Mine or theirs? It's mine.
Oh, boy. Miller and Moulton and the HOA, the new sponsor on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. To put it in perspective, when that started, I got a text from a buddy of mine who lives in a condo and home and developed down here. And they're basically, they got one of those neighborhood Facebook pages, and someone put on their thing, thinking about changing toilet paper brands. Do I need to contact the ARC committee? To give you an idea of what HOAs are like. But someone basically must have said to Paige Sporanic, you're not growing the game. She put that in quotes and put underneath it. In 24 hours on social media, almost 4 million people watched a video how to grip a golf club. LOL. I like my odds that there's people out there who learn something new. Growing the game one tip at a time.
Nice.
She's fantastic. She doesn't give a rip.
Both lawyers said I'm in the wrong.
Of course you are. I didn't need a lawyer to tell me that.
I didn't say you did. I'm just let people know that two lawyers had texted me right before the break, and
Oh, Phil Steele's got his AP projected preseason top 10.
Which over the last, he's 94%?
96%.
Over how many years now? 10, 14, something like that? All right. Lay it on me when we come out of break.
Yep. Do you have any interest in his digital magazine? Would you go to it during the season?
Yes.
Because he does the changes, so we could get that. I mean, I think for you it would be.
Yeah.
And where is your go-to for college basketball stats, metrics, any of that? Do you have a site that you go to for any of the?
For the metrics, no. I believe it or not, I go to ncaa.com for they're actually pretty good at posting a ton of stats. I'm not a huge basketball metrics guy. Felipe, you? You a big analytics guy with basketball?
I mean, I'm intrigued in some of the ways that those kind of stats are used.
What? Give me one or two stats that intrigue you.
Box plus minus per 36.
I'll go with the per 36. I find interesting.
What is the per 36?
I really like that. It's players' stats in a season per 36 minutes they play.
Gotcha. Right. If they play 36 minutes a
they
night,
play starter
their
minutes.
numbers would be.
Right, essentially.
That interests me.
I like that one a lot.
Even though some guys would get exposed playing 36 minutes, I find it interesting.
True. Some people ain't built for 36 minutes, but a lot of people are.
I don't look at them that much. I do like the ball on defender stats when they're showing, like, because it's tough to measure defense, but when he's one-on-one with the guy, what they average against him.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Right. No, yeah. I like Bam thrives in that category because Bam can guard guards.
Right.
But Canada Relief brings up some stats that interest me. Like he likes possessions per game, and Tulane apparently has the most possessions per game. Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Defensive win shares is another one. Basically just contributing to winning.
I will say points per game, as stupid and silly as that sounds, for the most part, you have to average over 75 points a game if you're going to win the NCAA tournament.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
It is the home stretch in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice. The bonus hour for the 239 at the top of the hour, Miller and Moulton. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Miss any part of the show? We had Kevin Brockway on an hour ago talking about all the ills of the Florida football and men's basketball programs. We had Henry Yoho on at the top of this hour talking about what, if anything, do the Lightning need to do with the trade deadline a week away. But, Mark, let's get to the meaty stuff. The biggest thing that we've talked about today.
Queso, guac, salsa.
National Tortilla Day.
What's the best thing to have with your chips? Voting not nearly what it was for our chicken wing or eating in bed votes. I hope it'll pick up throughout the day. Salsa making a vast comeback, closing the gap on queso with guacamole bringing in the rear. 41% of you right now are picking queso with your tortilla chips. Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, or FL Sports Network on Twitter or floridasportsnetwork.com to vote on today's poll question.
Listen, we don't let the big stuff slide, ladies and gentlemen. We don't miss a thing. I mean, we may have not known that there was an XFL game that was played last night. We may have missed that entirely. But National Tortilla Day, not a chance.
During the break, I discovered something, David, that I know people will want to hear. Phil Steele has put out his projected preseason AP preseason top 10.
He's pretty good at this.
He hits this damn near every year. And you could take this top 10 list, pull up the top 10 list from 1974 and find that it's not that different.
Here we go. By the way, the reason we keep going back to that, when Gary Danielson used to join us regularly, and there was a time when he would join us in studio, and he came in and he actually had it down on a note, pad. And he read off the top 10, and we all looked at one another kind of like, yeah, okay, yeah, it's going to be top 10. He goes, yeah, that was 1974. We were like, what point are you trying to make here?
I was going to start at 10, but I think I'm going to start at 1 because I think everybody knows who 1, 2, and 3 are.
Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State.
That's correct, David. Way to go.
Now the question is, am I going to stop with my winnings here, or am I going to risk it for what's behind door number 2?
That's very true. Do you want another Plinko chip, and do you want to try to take a stab at who number 4 is?
Man, number 4. Boy, with 2 SEC teams, it's tough to go with a third SEC team that high. Michigan?
That is correct. The University of Michigan, he has projected as the number 4 team in the country. For number 5, Phil Steele stays in the Big Ten.
Penn State?
Penn State is his preseason number 5.
Wow. Hey, if that's the case, is the Big Ten... Wait, do they still have divisions this year? Is this the last year of divisions?
Last year divisions, because USC
wow.
They haven't joined the conference yet.
If that's the case, this would be an epic Big Ten East.
Number 6,
LSU.
LSU.
Look at this. 3 Big Ten, 3 SEC. Oh, man.
Number 7.
I'm going to Clemson.
No. Same conference, a little closer to home. Florida State.
Oh, look at him. Look at him. By the way, 6 and 7 opened the season against one another in Orlando.
Clemson is number 8.
All right, Notre Dame.
Number 10.
Okay, so now basically the big guess is who's 9. Can anybody for the Big 12 or Pac-12? Because we've got what? We got 3 SEC, 3 Big Ten, 2 ACC, and Notre Dame.
Yeah, I was going to say 2.5 ACC.
Right. So doesn't this really come down to either USC or Texas? I mean, don't you think that that's where the guess is? USC.
That's correct. Number 9, USC.
Look at the teams that are in this top 10.
So to review, Georgia, number 1, Alabama, number 2, the Buckeyes, number 3, Michigan, number 4, Penn State, 5, LSU, 6, Florida State, 7, Clemson, 8, USC, 9, and Notre Dame, 10.
Now, for the record, it needs to be pointed out, this is not Phil Steele's top 10. This is Phil Steele's projection as to what the AP top 10 is going to look like in mid-August. This is his prediction as to what the AP top 10 will be in the preseason poll. Phil Steele, in early July, his magazine comes out. He will list his top 25, and he takes into account where he thinks teams are going to finish in his top 25.
And he's always done it that way, but this is his preseason top 10 of what he thinks, like David said, what the AP will look like when it comes out in August. He's had a pretty good track record of getting this 100% right.
Okay, last year. Now, let's just assume, because what's he, 96%?
Yeah.
96, wow. So let's assume he's going to get 9 of these 10 minimum. Like last year, we were pretty good. You know, Michigan State was top 10, Texas A&M was top 10, Notre Dame was top 10. We laughed at all 3. Just laughed, mocked it. Couldn't believe it. What in the world are these teams doing? Maybe Michigan State was 11 or 12.
They were somewhere outside of the top
just
10,
outside,
but it still was ridiculous.
Right. Yeah, we thought this is a joke. Okay. Of these 10, what's the one that you go, what? They're not going to finish in the top 10. And actually, I'm sorry, preseason top 10 that you look at and you go, oh, this is going to be a bad look. This is going to be like A&M and Notre Dame last year, in which this is going to be egg all over their preseason poll face.
Boy, my initial one is I would think Florida State. I mean, I think they'll be a preseason top 10. I don't think they're there yet. I don't think they're a team that's going to finish in the top 10.
Okay. That's interesting. Because you could argue they'll be favored in 10 games for sure. And then they're at Clemson, and they're in Orlando playing LSU. That'll be a toss-up. That'll be 2 points either way. So favored in 10 of their 12, though. I mean, they're not going to be an underdog against anybody else in the ACC, are they?
Shouldn't be.
I don't see that. So, okay. I'll tell you what. The Penn State one I find interesting. They had a lot of young guys on that team last year. Now, the quarterback wasn't. He had been there for 5 years. But they had a kid ready and waiting. And most of the team, though, was sophomores. That was a young team. I'll throw this out there. How about USC? In which I wonder, because, man, they won a lot of close games last year. And are we sure that the quarterback and the wide receiver, the ones leaving, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I know there's a lot placed on that quarterback. He's back. Caleb Williams, right?
Right.
And,
I just don't know.
I mean, as he prepares his life to be a Miami Dolphin.
Right. Right. That's
in case you didn't see that, he was asked what team he'd want to play for, and he said he'd like to play with the Dolphins. And apparently Gesicki's staying for a few more years, even though he's a free agent, because he'd like to throw him the football.
Right. Did you see Gesicki's tweet, by the way?
Yes.
It's hysterical. Gesicki's like, wait, I'm staying for 2 more years. I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my condo. How about this? How about Notre Dame? They've had a lot of turmoil this offseason.
Lost their O-line coach, new coordinators brought in, but they did get the quarterback from Wake Forest.
Good player.
Really good player. That's why my initial thought was Notre Dame, but the quarterback makes me think that that could be accurate.
Is James Franklin really ready to go toe-to-toe? I mean, he had them right there in 2016 and 2017, and he won the East in 2016, and he was right there in 2017 when he had Saquon, and they lost a heartbreaker 1-point game to Ohio State on the road. They were right there for 2 years, and now he's been basically spending 5 years trying to get back even with them. Are we sure they're ready? Because, I mean, if you're going to be top 10, you got to win. I mean, you could lose both those games and win the rest and sneak into the bottom of the top 10. But I mean,
that's saying you're going to get one of them.
Yes. Now, their schedule is always balanced. They've always got one home and one away. And since this is an odd year, I think they host Michigan.
Yeah, I thought they traveled to Michigan last
year.
Go
to Ohio State. I think that's how it works in an odd year for Penn State. So.
But that's Phil Steele's preseason, what he thinks the AP top 10 will look like. And he's been pretty darn accurate with that.
I will say this, Georgia's schedule is embarrassing. I mean, it is. It's so bad.
How bad is it? Sorry.
Well, thank you, Mark. And hello again, everybody. It's so bad, Mark, that I would like to make the case if they lose a game, they shouldn't be in the playoff. That's how bad it is.
Problem
no, I'm not kidding.
No, I understand.
I'm not kidding. They'll be favored in every game they play. They'll be favored by at least a touchdown in every game they play. The smallest line they'll have is when they go to Knoxville. And my guess is they're still a 7-point favorite, 7-9. Maybe it's just under 7. That'll be the only game on the board they're not a double-digit favorite in. But their schedule is so embarrassing. I truly believe, as the 2-time defending national champion, okay, it's so embarrassingly soft that if they lose a game, they should not be in the playoff. Because you can't tell me, based on the schedule they're playing, that you're going to know for sure that they're one of the top 4 teams in the country. I mean, they scheduled 11 wins.
Just so you know, to review, they open with UT Martin. Then
That's
they play
not By the way, Florida opens with Utah.
Right. UT Martin.
Right.
Ball State.
Uh-huh.
Conference game against South Carolina at home. UAB at home. At Auburn. Kentucky. At Vandy. Florida, Missouri, Ole Miss. At Tennessee. At Georgia Tech. But again, those non-conference games are UT Martin, Ball State, UAB, and Georgia Tech.
So when they go, if they were to go 11-1, and let's just say they lose to Tennessee, and Tennessee wins the East, and they go to Atlanta. Well, you got to put Georgia in. They're the 2-time defending champs, and they win 11-1. Seriously, that's the worst. That's the worst they could do with that schedule. with the talent they have, I mean, who would bet if they put the under at 10.5, who would bet it?
It's going to have to be 11.5, isn't it?
Have to be.
Because 10.5 is a dunk for, I don't care what the odds they want to put at. That's a dunk for the over.
So it's embarrassing. I mean, it is. I mean, look at the schedule Florida's playing. I mean, seriously. Utah, their crossovers LSU versus Georgia's crossovers Auburn. Then Florida's playing Florida State while Georgia's got Georgia Tech. No offense, with the rosters that both programs have right now, I think they should switch. Now, that would interest me. You give Georgia Florida's schedule, now I'm interested. We got some games on this schedule.
Just the non-conference games would be worth it alone. Utah and Florida State, are you kidding me?
Imagine being a Georgia season ticket holder this year. Take a look at that home schedule you're buying. Oh, yeah, that's right. The Florida game's on a neutral field.
You know what? They don't even care right now. They just get to go and celebrate being two-time national champs. They don't care who's on the schedule, David. They really don't.
No, you would know. You were a part of that family once.
I'm telling you, right now, they're just looking at this going, can we get 3? Can we run this back for a 3-peat? I tell you what, UT Martin, they might be tough for that opener.
Which, like the accent, which point I'd be like, are we talking hoops? Hell no. Go Dogs.
Spring ball in a week. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for listening. Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, and Port Charlotte. We'll do it again on Monday. The bonus hour is next.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. So I doubt, you're not.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh, no, I just started. And I realized you didn't have headsets on. I doubt you ever watched that video I sent, but that guy that started that thing out for the documentary, that half swing, he's got Tiger sitting there doing the voice, and Tiger goes, they go, how you feel, Tiger? I feel great. That's good. That'll be about 2 episodes.
Yeah. No, I saw it. I watched it. I laughed.
That was my favorite part. That's great. I wonder if they're going to do a season 2 of that. Drives to Survive has been 5 seasons. I'm all in if they do another full swing. All in.
How many episodes are out so far?
8. That's it.
Do they all come out at
yeah,
once?
they dumped it all at once.
Oh,
unless there's a second half to it that I didn't read or realize, but
and
it finished with the Tour Championship, so I can't imagine there would be anything else. They did the whole year.
It was just last year, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure Scotty is featured a lot on that show.
A little bit.
I mean, he killed it last year.
A little bit. Every episode was on really different players. They did some on rookies. They did some on, this. And it's funny how many of them jumped to the Live Tour. Double header, and you're giving me Blues and Penguins. That is just awful. Rangers Caps, that's fine. It's the Rangers and it's Ovechkin. It'll do a number.
Yeah, it'll rate.
But Penguins and Blues, you've got to do better than that. I mean, I know they probably set these things long in advance and at higher expectation for the Blues, but come on. If on a Saturday, give me Connor McDavid on a Saturday, for crying out loud. You see they're talking the possibility of Ray J hosting the outdoor game? Kevin Weeks tweeted out the rumors out there that next year's Stadium Series game is going to be Panthers Lightning at Ray J.
I thought he tweeted out that next year's outdoor game would be in Jersey at MetLife.
I mean, Bolts by the Bay has a story on it. And I had seen it before. It's not done yet.
Do you have an ugly and a bad?
I do.
Because I just read a headline that's pretty bad and ugly.
Unless this was February 8th. Now, it may have changed, but.
Is either your bad or ugly in Georgia?
I don't know.
It's fine. Whatever.
No, one's in Fort Myers and one's in. If it's good.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
The bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this Friday. Hope you've had a good week. What do you got in store for the weekend? Little this, going that, and in the sports world. It's actually a fascinating time. It's last weekend of the conference season for the small conferences in college basketball, second to last weekend for the major conferences. I mean, remember, March Madness starts. I mean, the full field tournament's 20 days from now. It's 3 weeks yesterday. And this sucker's almost over. Many of you are like, well, now I may have to start paying attention so I can fill out my brackets and what have you. Every night's important, though, Mark. We follow Shelby Mast in Bracket Whack. We think he's really good. He's accurate, and he updates it every day. He either does it before he goes to bed or he does it and he gets up at a ridiculous hour and he does it so that even we can have it updated when we go on it. Like Michigan's win last night, Mark, their first team out. So you think of the week they've had, because they were like 6th team out when the week started.
Right. Beat Sparty last weekend at home. Good win against Rutgers on the road last night.
Right. Rutgers a tournament team.
Rutgers
They're a 9
4 their
team.
last 5, by the way.
Now they lost their best player.
That'll do it.
Yeah, it really will. But Michigan, Penn State, first 2 out, according to Shelby. A couple of Big Ten teams there. That could be very key, the number of teams that a conference gets. I mean, even with that, by the way, he has the Big Ten getting 9. With Michigan and Penn State as his first 2 out, he has the Big Ten getting 9. Man, that seems like a lot.
For a conference that is just so mediocre.
I mean, are we sure about 17-win Iowa? And he's got them comfortably in. He's got them, they could lose out and they're in.
Well, this is where, God forbid, FAU loses a conference championship game, and they're not going to get in instead of a Michigan or a Penn State or an Iowa. That's the part that bothers me. And if it was my Spartans, I'd feel the same way. If they're not good enough, if they're a bubble team, I want the mid-major in. I don't care who it is.
Mark,
the system is set up to screw the mid-major every year.
FAU's 25-3 with a week left in their conference regular season. Oral Roberts is 26-4. And that team did damage in the tournament last year. Charleston is 27-3.
Just going to bring them up.
27-3. By the way, Drake and Bradley are going to play for the Missouri Valley regular season title on Saturday. Drake's 24-6. Bradley's having their best regular season in 15 years. The game's in Peoria for the regular season Missouri Valley Conference title. You throw in a couple of tournament wins for each team. They're going to, in theory, Mark, they face one another in the Missouri Valley Conference Championship game. You could have like two 26-win teams facing each other. Maybe even one of them with 27 wins. Really? We can't give them, even put them in a play-in? Really? There's not a spot for 2 out of the Missouri Valley? Are we sure? And the Big Ten could get 11, potentially? What is this, SEC softball? All right.
Drives the two of us nuts.
It does.
Because they don't take anything away. And I don't think Rutgers is a tournament team, but you lose 4 out of 5, your best player's gone. With these losses, they haven't dropped all that much. They're in pretty solidly.
Right. And I do think, and it sucks, but if you're a team that loses your best player, and because of it, you end the regular season, say, losing 5 out of 7, and say you win 1, lose 1 in your conference tournament. So you end up with 19 wins and lose 6 of your final 8. Yeah, when you were healthy, no doubt you were a top 6, 7 seed. You ain't healthy. Right now, if Rutgers staggers to the finish here, say they go 2-2 in their last 4 between regular season and the Big Ten tournament, what are they going to be, like 19-13, something ridiculous like that? Without their best player, is that a tournament team? I love Rutgers. I'm biased, but not really. So, but anyway, those are the schools that right now, FAU, Oral Roberts, Charleston, Drake, if you will, who has the better resume out of the Missouri Valley as opposed to Bradley. Those are the 4, you could throw in Utah Valley, but that's getting a little crazy. But there's 4, Mark. There's FAU, Oral Roberts, Charleston, and Drake.
Well, and I'm sorry. West Virginia's 16-12. They're 5-10 in conference. They don't deserve to be in the tournament. I don't care that the Big 12 is the best conference in the country. You can't go 5-10 in conference and tell me you should get in before a team like a Drake or an FAU if they happen to lose their conference title game. There's just no way.
So according to Shelby, the Big Ten's got 9, and their first 2 out are Michigan and Penn State. According to Shelby, the Big 12 has 8. And on his list of first 4 out is Texas Tech, who I believe in the standings, Mark, is tied with West Virginia. They're 2 of the bottom 3 teams in the Big 12.
Identical records, David. They're both 5-10 in conference and 16-12 overall. Identical.
So he's got West Virginia in the play-in, and he's got Texas Tech on the outside looking in. So it's still doable that the Big Ten can get 11. That's 11 out of 14, right?
Yes. Good question, though. We all got to be updated from time to time.
Year to year, you got guys coming and going, the whole deal, And then the Big 12 looks like 8 out of 10, but could still be 9. This really does look like SEC softball. You sure we can't find a spot for FAU, for Drake, for Charleston, for Oral Roberts?
Bradley, if they happen
really,
to lose.
Come on. Yeah, like what if Bradley wins this weekend? So they are technically the 1 seed. They've won the regular season Missouri Valley, but Drake beats them in the conference final. So Drake gets the automatic bid, and Bradley's, what are they? Probably end up with about 24 wins, something like that. Seriously? Can't put them in a play-in?
And Shelby doesn't have Bradley considered for an at-large bid. I mean, he's got him in the others considered for an at-large bid, but that means that they're no better than 11th out. He's got the first 4 out, the next 4 out. Of the first 4 out, David mentioned Michigan and Penn State. New Mexico and Texas Tech are the other 2. And then North Carolina, Utah State, Seton Hall, and Clemson. So you have 2 of the 8 teams that are not from power conferences.
Right.
2 of the 8.
New Mexico and Utah State. I will say, though, think about where he's got North Carolina right now. North Carolina's 5 spots out of the tournament. Preseason number 1, lost in the title game a year ago. North Carolina. I mean, don't get me wrong. That year Hubert Davis had last year, that's an all-timer. Beat Coach K in his final home game, then beat him in the Final Four when they never played before. I mean, you've got 2-3 years no matter what you do after that first year. But if you had said to a Carolina fan when they were preseason number 1, hey, $20 you don't make the tournament this year.
And by the way, the last 4 in, too, David, are all Power 5 teams. USC, West Virginia, Wisconsin, and Mississippi State.
Right. Got to admit, USC had a nice road win last night at Colorado. Their last 3 games are 3 quad 1s and a quad 2, and they just won 1 of them. I think they go to Utah this weekend, and then they have the Arizona schools that come to them. I mean, to me, if USC goes 3-1, they're definitely in. But I even think if they go 2-2, unless they lose their first game in the Pac-12 tournament, I think they'll be in.
But I'm just making the point that of these final 12 teams, 2 of them are from non-power 5s. It is so difficult with the way this system is set up for the mid-major to get in an at-large team. They have made it harder and harder and harder.
Here's the funny thing, though. USC would only be the 3rd Pac-12 team to get in. That's how few bids the Pac-12 is getting. Like the Missouri Valley, the Mountain West. Right now, the Mountain West is getting projected to have as many bids as the Pac-12.
Oh, and by the way, USC and UCLA leave the conference, so that's 1 team remaining in the Pac-12 that's getting a bid for the tournament.
That would be Arizona. And that's the big thing that's in play in college football right now. CBS and Turner are out. ESPN is reportedly out. Nobody wants to give the Pac-12 any money for their football games. The Athletic, Mark, did a tremendous story. I think it was Dennis Dodd did a great story for CBSSports.com in which he detailed the top-rated football games in the last 2 years for the Pac-12 that did not involve USC or UCLA. And basically, Oregon has to be involved. If Oregon's not involved, you don't get any rating whatsoever. Oregon had one or two games in which they drew like 4 million. I think an Oregon-Washington game, had a pretty good rating. But you could see, by the way, that with USC and UCLA leaving, why it is no one's bidding. I mean, they're hoping to get the 30 million per school that the Big 12 is providing for their schools.
And you understand, if you're Oregon or Washington right now, how desperate you are to get to the Big Ten. Because if not, your athletic programs, as you know them, will not be the same. They just won't. Now, Oregon will be able to be propped up by Phil Knight's money. I get that.
Apparently, by the way, Kevin Warren, the outgoing Big Ten commissioner, wanted the Big Ten to expand further, and he wanted Oregon and Washington at the very least. One of the articles that I read in which they said, it actually played a role in him leaving. Because remember, it's not like they consulted him for USC and UCLA. So he was actually trying to put his stamp on Big Ten expansion. And when they said, no, we're good, he may have come to the conclusion, well, what the heck do I need to be here for?
What am I doing here, by the way? Where was I when they even made this decision? I was in Europe.
Right.
So that's a little rundown of where the brackets are and a little rundown of where the Pac-12 is, because the Pac-12 is in serious trouble. They're talking about San Diego State and trying to expand with some of the teams that
SMU. All right.
Boise's not getting talked about at all either. They're getting left out.
No, right now
not
it's
wanted by the Pac-12.
Yeah, it's San Diego State and SMU are the two that they're talking about. Meanwhile, you got the two Arizona schools, Colorado and Utah, that are an inch away from going to the Big 12. And you got Oregon and Washington who desperately want to go to the Big 10. Miller and Moulton.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Got it. Dead. I wish I could find that for like every game I miss in the night. That would be a great read at 3:30 in the morning. Give me about 20 of those 10 takeaways. That's good stuff. Wouldn't that be interesting, Canada Relief? What are they, like 11th, though, Logic Man? They're not that far off because you've got the other two teams in the East. You got the Dodgers, the Padres. You've got the Yankees. You got the Astros. Were the Rays ahead of them? Oh, really? Because one of the power rankings I looked at, I thought had them 10th or 11th.
I think Bobby Wagner could be a Dolphin. Dolphin or an Eagle.
I'd love for him to be a Dolphin. Only one of the best linebackers in the last decade.
By the way, Brian Simon challenged me. I got a text last night. He was listening to our podcast. He's like, Mike Evans, a Hall of Famer. Are you out of your mind? I'm like, no.
I've got him at 8th, Logic Man, for the record of what I'm looking at. Astros, Yankees, Dodgers, Mets, Braves, Padres, Blue Jays, Phillies. 15-1.
By the way, we were talking about advanced basketball stats earlier. Nikola Jokic leads the NBA in most advanced stats, and he's one of the greatest advanced statistical players of all time.
I'll tell you what, and we don't have to talk about this anymore for what is going to happen in the Western Conference playoffs this year. He is going to, if you look at who he could have to play with Denver, and like they could get the Warriors in a 1-8 matchup emerging or a 1-9 matchup emerging, out of the play-in. And then think about who they're going to get as a 4. They could get Luka in Dallas. They could get Durant in Phoenix. Okay. I mean, they could have a really difficult road. The Clippers with Kawhi and Paul George. I mean, he's got to get it done. They made a conference final in the bubble. That's it.
Right.
Okay.
They came back down 3-1 in the bubble against the Clippers.
But it was the bubble. Okay.
Right.
So they don't get the credit that they would have otherwise gotten, having to win 2 games on the road, potentially. He needs to win this year, or else he's going to be regarded as a papier-mâché MVP. Fairly or unfairly?
I mean, he plays well in the playoffs.
Well, no. They got to win. Okay? They have to win. They're going to be the 1 seed. He needs to lead them to wins.
He's got Jamal Murray back.
Listen, they should win. They're good. They have a big 3.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Hey, there's a lot of news coming out about Russell Wilson.
Yes, there is.
So where do you want to start here? The Athletic did a story in which this is how bad things got in Seattle. That you know why ultimately they traded him? Because apparently he went to ownership and he said, I want the coach and the GM fired. So apparently ownership met with the coach and the GM who said, well, I guess it's time we stop trying to salvage this.
But the irony is who did he want as his head coach?
Sean Payton.
So everything worked out for everybody. Pete keeps his job. Russ goes to Denver, and he gets Sean. After a year where he had his own office, his own staff, and everybody running around Denver, taking care of his every need.
So apparently now Russell Wilson has posted a video in which he has given himself a nickname.
Oh, no.
Oh, God, not again.
Now, first off, you can't do that, right?
No.
I mean, did Magic give himself Magic?
No.
No.
You know, Julius Erving did not give himself Dr. J. You know, I mean,
It was either a headline or a magazine.
now Ali did call himself the greatest. All right. I mean, you know, I'm sure we could think back historically. There's probably been a few who have given, like LeBron did not call himself as King James. They meaning the media, right? Put him on the cover and put the crown on his head, right?
Right.
Did the media make him King James?
They did.
By the way, if you were to give yourself a nickname, I mean, don't you have to give yourself like something jazzy? Something, you know.
First off, you just don't do it. Okay, that's the first thing. I've had a bunch of different nicknames in my life. None of them, I didn't come up with one and say, hey, guys, can you start calling me this?
Right. But if you did, particularly with that voice, doesn't it have to be exceptional? I mean, if you're going to give yourself a nickname. I was even going
to think of something right now, and it's like, I'm scared to just blurt something out. I would want to be called this because it would sound, no.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, think about the person that you're using as a sounding board. Hey, I'm thinking of giving myself a nickname. I mean, it's got to be somebody who never goes public with this, you know, because it's bad enough, whatever it is you're going to choose. But then, you know, when the media gets to you and goes, hey, he chose blankety blank, but what were some of the other things that he considered? Oh, you'll love this. You know, imagine if, you know, you and I were the sounding board for each other and we started disclosing what it is our nicknames would be. So, apparently, Russell Wilson posted a video, which I have not seen. I don't follow Russell Wilson. He's a little dorky. I mean, I'm dorky enough. Do I need to follow dorky people? No. I want to follow diva wide receivers. Now, he's a diva quarterback, but I'm more interested in diva wide receivers. Got to be honest. Apparently, his nickname is his alter ego.
His alter ego? What is he, Bruce Wayne and Batman?
Now, I have not seen this. I am reading a story about this. But he calls himself Mr. Unlimited.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this. Yeah, that was last year. But yes, it's still super cringe.
Mr. Unlimited.
Unlimited.
Unlimited. So apparently he came up with this a while ago, and he's bringing it back.
Oh, boy.
Listen, here's my thought. As long as he doesn't, was it Let's Ride?
Yeah.
Okay. As long as that is dead and buried, I don't care what he does.
I do for this reason. If I'm covering the team, every question after a bad game is the following. Russ, looks like you were limited today by the X defense. Why?
So
you call yourself Mr. Unlimited. And yet you didn't run for any yards and you threw 4 interceptions today. It seems as if you were limited. Do you have any thoughts about changing your name?
He'll probably ask for you to be fired.
It's his alter ego, which apparently he was going down this road when he was in Seattle. Apparently this is not new. It's just it was so bad 2-3 years ago that we forgot about it. We're going to give him a pass. Because remember, this is when let Russ cook. This is when he was on the way to the Hall of Fame. You know how it is when you're really good, we let things slide. Once you start to slide, we bring back up all your mistakes. So, just saying.
Mr. Unlimited.
Mr. Unlimited. Who knows? Maybe we'll get some of that. I so want Hard Knocks in Denver. I know it's not going to be. Change the rules. Honestly, change the damn rules. Sean Payton's there. He's kicked out all of Russell Wilson's coaches and trainers and everybody, took the office away. Apparently, Russ was holding his own quarterback room meetings with his quarterback coach, not Nathaniel Hackett.
I don't know how any of this
coach
was even allowed, David. I really don't know for the life of me how they let things like this happen.
What is this dude's problem? Why does he think that he's the greatest quarterback ever and that he has such power over an entire NFL organization?
Because they allowed it.
Because he's always gotten paid. I mean, he's negotiated 2 big contracts. When it's come time to Russ to cook and Russ to get paid, Russ has cooked and gotten paid. Went to 2 Super Bowls, won 1, should have won a second.
He's been a spectator at several others where he sits next to the commissioner for these games.
Right.
I mean,
He's married to a bombshell.
I get that.
You wonder why he feels good about himself. This is why.
It's disrespectful to whatever organization.
Yes. Yes.
But this organization allowed it. Seattle didn't.
Right.
And Russ took his ball and went home. And now it's in Denver, and they let him do what he wants, and that ended quickly.
Good.
I mean, think about it. They fired Hackett. They brought in Sean Payton. Sean Payton ain't taking any of this crap.
Well, remember, I talk about what a great liar Sean Payton is. He looks right at the media. He goes, really? He had his own quarterback coach? Okay, he had his own office? People had room with the bill? I had never heard that before. Huh. Well, that's not going to happen with me as coach, but that's interesting. I mean, he said that didn't blink, straight face, looked right at the media and said, that's news to me.
I think Johnny Max come up with a great question in the Twitch chat room, however. You can text it in at 21,000. What's your alter ego name?
I mean, can I go queso?
You could.
David Queso Moulton.
I have a name that I use for food orders just because I'm tired of people misspelling Felipe. I just say Philip.
That's fine.
It's a boring alter ego. I want it
is
Felipe.
boring.
I mean, come on,
Or
Felipe.
Phil.
But either way, Felipe is exciting. It's exotic. It has
distinguished.
It truly has some sexiness to it.
Oh
Felipe.
yeah.
Right.
Phil sounds like a plumber.
Right.
Oh, it does. It's sad because when I came to Fort Myers, I introduced myself as Felipe to everyone, but it's like, I'm just going to call you Phil. And I'm like, okay.
I mean, at least Philly. We call you, at least that gives you a little more.
Yeah, Phil.
Right.
Yeah. And I've been called Phil in the past, but, it's fine. Call me whatever you want.
So I can use it as a nickname and an answer to our poll question today, National Tortilla Chip Day. What do you want to dip your tortilla into? Salsa, guac, or queso?
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So that third-year Letterman site, Dale Murphy's been tweeting out all these places he's eaten at. And he responded to me. He goes, Murph, maybe we should meet up at Beef O'Brady's, and I can tell you about the time I shoved a Dodgers fan into the urinal trough at the old Fulton County Stadium. Murphy responds to him. That was you? We all remember hearing about that. Me and Hub were just talking about it the other day. Can't wait to hear the details. Which beefs? So great. That is so great.
Twitch chat. Spell my name. I'm curious now. How do you think you spell my name?
I don't think spelling your name's that hard.
I don't think so either. But it has been brutally messed up so many times.
Mine too.
Whoa, is C at
Which
the end?
one? Which
Okay.
one? First or last?
Marker Miller, right.
Mark, you have the whitest name ever. Mark Miller. Generic American.
I don't know. I think Joe Smith,
Yeah.
Joe Smith's pretty good.
who's Allie LaForce's husband. That's what we used to say to him. Longtime pitcher. I don't know if he's with a team this year or not. He was with the Twins last year, but we were taking a ride from Oxford to Memphis to catch a flight one time. And I said to him, I go, your name is like the character name that they use on 1-hour TV shows when they need to come up with a name for somebody. Okay, our next suspect is Joe Smith. He's from Brooklyn. Joe goes, yeah.
I have a memory from Snapchat from a year ago today. I ordered a smoothie and they spelled it F-I-L-L. So Phil E-P-A. Phil Ipe.
Felipa.
Felipa. Did they put an accent over the A though?
Nope, just
No?
Felipe.
Damn, that would have been perfect. Phil E-P-A. God, that would have been great. With
I
an
bought
accent.
a pair of pants the other day, and on the receipt they spelled Felipe, like with a P. P-E-L-I-P-E. Felipe.
I got to admit, Felipe, Mark and I are stunned. We think it's so easy.
It is. But the most common mistake is the PH. And I'm like, you're really going to put a PH in Felipe? It's too Hispanic for PH.
I know. See, that's the thing. If you told me your name was Felipe, even over the phone, I would assume that, you have some kind of Hispanic culture, so I wouldn't spell it PH.
No, it was just the second letter. E or I would be where I would get messed up.
Yeah. I is usually like Canada spelled it. I've gotten that one a lot.
I'll bet some people have put 2 P's, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Felipe Pepe. I'm like, whoa, relax.
Joe Jones, Bob White,
Dan Smith.
They don't know how to spell. And they don't know how to give you your change back unless the machine tells them how to. That's the little joy in life that I get every day.
I've never known how to spell Yinzer, for what it's worth. Spell check's the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I'm a terrible speller.
10 seconds.
Felipa.
You said A, it's E.
Or E, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I that was just
Felip. Yes.
IPE. So that was.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes till the top of the hour, 17 until we're out of here. The bonus hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Have some fun with us. Vote in our poll question. National Tortilla Chip Day. So what are you dipping it in? Salsa, queso, guac? It's a good question, isn't it? It's a lot better than we normally do, be honest. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, FL Sports Network, all on Twitter, or go to floridasportsnetwork.com and vote. And while you're there, download some of what you missed on the show. It's where our podcasts are always posted.
Getting people texting me new nicknames, tweeting me new nicknames. Fine. I've had no problem with any of them so far.
Are any of them good? Are any of them like, might even tell the wife about this one tonight.
No, just someone came up with double M. I've heard that one before. That's one that's been out there.
Right. If you were a boxer, don't you think that's what we would have come up with? In this corner, and we go through it, the 6th-ranked contender from Saginaw, Michigan. He comes in with a record of 21-2. Give it up for Mark Double M Miller.
Wow. What about Miller Time Miller?
I'll take anything. I'm not that worried about it.
Okay.
But because they're all the hockey world, I became Flash at one place. I had another nickname of Woody before that. I was Woody all through late high school and college. And my friends that I moved in with in Georgia, a couple of them that I knew from back in Michigan, they were calling me Woody. A couple of the hockey players were like this close. And one day I was dubbed the Saginaw Flash because of my blazing speed. And Flash, my boss fell over and started laughing and with his southern accent went, Saginaw Flash. And it was done. It was over. And so for the next couple of years, that's what I was.
In grade school, I was Mo. Because apparently there was a David Martinez. He went by Dave. There was a David Moulton. He went by David. Okay. And so in order to alphabetically separate us, M-A, M-O, one became May, one became Mo. Lasted all to high school.
Mo's pretty cool, though.
Thank you, Felipe.
I don't know. Mo money.
Those are the kind of drops that we are really coming to expect from you, Felipe.
Mo's pretty cool. Yep.
We'll say we could make that its own little drop in right there. Okay.
You actually have found your own drop in. That was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. All right, are we doing this?
It's time for someone to take back this segment.
Now he's trying to
If for
produce.
no other reason,
Wait.
Stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Today was a great day in getting rid of halitosis because DuPont begins commercial production of the nylon toothbrush today in 1938.
Solid.
1963 in the 5th Daytona 500, Tiny Lund, driving for Wood Brothers, wins. Today in 1975, Led Zeppelin released Physical Graffiti. Maybe their best album. It was today in 1980 that the U.S. comes from behind to beat Finland and win gold at Lake Placid.
For the rest of your life.
To your blanking grave.
Yep.
Prince Charles announced his engagement to Lady Di today in 1981.
That worked out well for everyone involved.
Really did. Today in 82, Gretzky would score his NHL record 78th goal of the season en route to 92.
Past Espo, right? Didn't
Yep.
Espo have 77?
Today in 89, Roberto Duran wins his 4th title in different weight divisions as he beats Iran Barkley in a 12-round split decision. He was 37-year-old, winning the WBC middleweight title, proving to everyone that he was a gigantic badass.
It was the fight of the year in 89. It is one of the best damn fights. It was, I believe, in Atlantic City. I think Trump had it at his hotel. Okay. It was awesome. And when you think that that's 9 years after he beat Sugar Ray Leonard in Montreal, and 8.5 after he said no mas in New Orleans. Unbelievable fight.
Today in 1998, Elton John was knighted. 2013, Jimmy Johnson wins his 2nd Daytona 500. Danica Patrick would start from the pole in that race and have the best ever finish by a woman, finishing 8th.
She was 2nd heading into the final lap, and nobody wanted to draft with her. They hung her out to dry.
And in 2018, David, a great day in our nation's history. The U.S. did it. Curling gold. Curling gold today in 2018.
Were you there?
No. Taking it in on TV like the rest of the world. Celebrating in that monumental curling victory. Those celebrating birthdays that are no longer with us. Honus Wagner, Abe Vigoda. That's really just for David and I, and Steve Jobs. Those that are celebrating birthdays, Phil Knight is 85. George Thorogood is 73. Eddie Murray is 67. Mano Rayom is 51. Simeon Rice is 49. Zach Johnson is 47. And Floyd Mayweather Jr. is 46 years old today. Probably could still win the title in at least one weight division.
I was going to say, it only gets hit 7 times in the fight. And it's tough to lose that way.
And that was today was the day when, unless I missed anything, David.
Well, you know, Mark, I got to be honest. It would be helpful if I was actually paying attention to my list, okay, while you were going through yours. Okay. So since I wasn't
from time to time.
Right. So since I wasn't really paying attention, okay, you know, we'll just go with yours.
We'll just say that I batted 1,000 today, huh?
Yeah. Good job by you.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
Goods have been hard to find, and I liked this story. And it's a little kind of it's sporting, not a sport. But we go to the UK, where Nick Ganging caught a 44-pound, 7-ounce pike in Somerset, England. Looks like it's as big as him. Pound off the British record.
How big?
Nearly 45 pounds. 44-pound, 7-ounce pike.
Damn.
That's huge.
Think about when you like pack your luggage and it's 40 or so pounds and they charge you at 50. So you put your luggage on the thing and you go, good, I don't have to pay for this. Think about how heavy that luggage is. Man.
For the bad, we go to Fort Myers, where apparently everything was going to plan for Jason Parrish earlier this week when it sounded like his car was under attack. He said, bam, something hit my car. Bam, bam, another one. Thought he hit something. He was relieved it was just eggs on his car. The eggs left a scratch mark. He was hitting 3 different places, but someone is throwing eggs along McGregor Boulevard. First off, who can afford to egg a car right now?
Good point.
Are you kidding me? Where are you getting these eggs? So be on the lookout if you're on McGregor. Finally, the ugly. We go to Pennsylvania, where a Pennsylvania man is facing charges after he called 911 and said he was hit by a baseball bat after walking into his ex's house at 3 a.m. He's now facing burglary, trespassing, and disorderly conduct charges after he called police at 3:17 in the morning, telling dispatch he was hit in the head with a baseball bat. Not only was he not hit with the baseball bat, He broke into his ex's house. And she tried to push him to make him leave. He didn't leave.
You got to move on, dude.
And then making up a story they could hit with a baseball bat. I wish she would have. And that's the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, February the 24th, 2023.
Not a big night in college basketball, although it is a big game tonight at FGCU. There's one nationally ranked game tonight, Xavier and Seton Hall, 7 o'clock FS1. But 7 o'clock at Alico, last home game of the year for the men. They beat Austin P. They're in the ASUN tournament.
They're an 11.5-point favorite.
Now, Austin P just got done having 3 guys suspended for a game because you may have seen there was a bit of a brawl at the end of their game against North Florida a few days ago. I've heard their leading scorer is not going to play tonight. But Austin P's in last place in the ASUN. FGCU's tied for 10th in the 14-team league. Top 10 make the ASUN tournament. FGCU with a win is in. If they lose, then they need Jacksonville to lose at home to Eastern Kentucky. It's a big game for Eastern Kentucky. They win it, they're the 4 seed. That gives them 2 home games. Okay, so Eastern Kentucky's got a lot to play for tonight. FGCU's opponent has nothing to play for tonight. I like the Eagles' chances to snap the 5-game home losing streak and make the ASUN tournament.
Tomorrow, a couple of big basketball games college-wise. Indiana and Purdue play one another, but the Canes are taking on Florida State. They should win that game. Virginia's on the road at North Carolina. We all know North Carolina's not had a quad 1 win yet, but as Miami's trying to get that regular season title, they have it in their own hands, but they could actually clinch it tomorrow with a win and a Virginia loss.
Heat back in action after the All-Star break tonight. ESPN 7:30. They're in Milwaukee.
Kevin Love.
That is true. Yeah. Maybe also Cody Zeller.
Yeah, Kevin Love.
Panthers home tonight for the Sabres. Sabres just went overtime and beat the Lightning last night. Don't you have to bet the Panthers hard tonight, back-to-back for the Sabres?
Yeah, they're minus 205 are the Panthers in that game against Buffalo. Buffalo scores, though. I will say that. You better be ready to play. They give up a lot of goals, but Buffalo can score. 6 last night. That Thompson player is ridiculous.
Would be an absolute embarrassment tonight if FGCU doesn't win and doesn't make the ASUN tournament.
Absolute embarrassment. After 22 wins last year, not making the ASUN tournament with the players they had back.
And also, they've lost 10 of their last 13. Most people think they have top 5 talent in the league. So, yeah, they got to get it together. I'll say this. They may catch a break, Mark. If they win, the way the ASUN's doing it, 9 plays 10, and the winner plays the 1 seed. Well, if Kennesaw State wins tonight, they're the 1, not Liberty. So FGCU A would only have to travel to basically Atlanta, play, I think it would be Queens College or North Florida on a neutral floor at Kennesaw. And if they win, the very next night they'd play Kennesaw. That's a lot better than playing Liberty. Just saying. I mean, I could make the case you'd rather be in the 9-10 slot than the 7-8 slot if Kennesaw wins tonight. And I think the ASUN tournament starts like Monday next week. And there's no time here.
Well, it's certainly been a disappointing year for the FGCU men. The women do what they do. They just win.
Yeah, they won by 35 on the road last night.
And still don't know if they get an at-large bid if something were to happen in the conference tournament. That's the pathetic part.
Yeah, they're like projected as an 11 seed, which is like right on the cusp.
But if they lose, the projection would go down.
Well, remember, last year, they got a 12 seed. I mean, they won 30-plus games. And they got a 12 seed with a WNBA player on their roster. And basically, the committee said, if you guys didn't win the ASUN tournament, we weren't put you in.
So that's a little bit what's going on with FGCU, both on the men and the women's side, as we get ready for a nice weekend of sports. Although you won't know it because NHL hockey tomorrow, they're managing to put the Penguins and Blues on national TV in a game that we all need to see, with Edmonton playing tomorrow as well. But why would you want to put the best player in the world on television?
To be honest, the game they should put on tomorrow is Tampa and Detroit. Don't they play tomorrow?
They do, tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's actually the game we should see. First off, both teams bring ratings, and both are in the playoffs if the season ended today.
I actually think ABC would love the Red Wings to start getting good. They draw on that sport. They've got fans from coast to coast. They're one of the few draws that there are on television that is not a New York type team.
By the way, Blades at home tonight. And they re-signed McCarron here recently. I don't know if he's in the lineup or not, but Blades home for the weekend as well.
And we hope you have a great weekend wherever your travels take you, if you're doing some local sports or if you're just out on the town. We'll do it all over again on Monday. We thank you so very much for listening. Have a great weekend, and we'll be back on Monday morning. Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again,